ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọmọ kan balẹ̀ fún ọjọ́ iwájú rere èyí tí ó sọ̀kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀ Oòduà láìpẹ́. Àpérò táwọn ètò tó kù yọ nípa ṣíṣàkójọpọ̀ gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ tó wà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá nínú ìṣọ̀kan fún àtúnbí ìjára látò tẹ́pẹ́pẹ́ àpérò ojúkojú tí ó wáyé nílẹ̀ Yorùbá láìpẹ́. Ìpele mẹ́ta la pín àpérò sí: ìgbé ayé ìrọ̀rùn fún ọmọ Yorùbá láàrin ọdún 1952 sí ọdún 1966 àti ṣèyẹn kọjá. Ìgbé ayé kòkòrò ajẹnirun ọdún 1966 títí dòní èyí náà ti di àfihẹ́yìn aṣọ igun àláre kíkọjú síwájú pẹ̀lú ìrètí àti láìsí ìbẹ̀rù kankan. Ìyẹn nípele kẹta tí a wà báyìí. Ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn kọ́ rèé, bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni kì í sọ̀rọ̀ òṣèlú. Ọ̀rọ̀ lọ síwájú ìran Yorùbá òun náà ni o. Àwọn tó ti kópa ló lè ròyìn. Ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lọ́jọ́ Sátidé lórí ayélujára Zoom ní dédé agogo 11 òwúrọ̀ 11 a.m. EST àti agogo 4 ọ̀sán orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àti Gẹ̀ẹ́sì 4 p.m. GMT. Ọba Adédòkun Abọ́lárìn orí adé àpérò. Ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Ṣẹ́gun Gbádégẹṣin alága àgbìmọ̀ àpérò. Amòfin àgbà Femi Falana alága àpérò. Àwọn tí ó bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lọ́jọ́ náà ni ajagunfẹ̀yìntì Major General Henry Ayoola, ajagunfẹ̀yìntì Major General Chris Olukolade, ọ̀mọ̀wé Victor Taiwo, Honorable Bukọla Oreọfẹ ni ó darí ètò lọ́jọ́ náà. Onímọ̀ ìṣègùn dúró de ayé Òdìmáyọ̀ Akínìtìrì, ààrẹ ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá North America, olùkéde ìgbà tó ti dé nílẹ̀ Oòduà. Gbogbo ọmọ aládìẹ máa yọ̀, ìrọ̀rùn dé. Oòduà gbè wá o, àṣẹ.
Agajù wọn lọ. Ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìjọyà.
Àpérò gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá ní.
Ẹ káàárọ̀ o, gbogbo ọmọ káàárọ̀ òjíire káàkiri àgbáyé nílé lóko. Mo kí gbogbo wa pé ẹ káàbọ̀ sí orí àpérò ìpele kẹjọ ẹsẹ̀ kẹta nínú àpérò láwa yìí. A ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ àpérò ó tó jọ mẹ́ta, ṣùgbọ́n lágbára Èdùmàrè Oòduà á gbé wa àádélẹ̀ lérí. Níbi tá a dé yìí, a kọ orin anthem Yorùbá lásìkò yìí. Ẹ jẹ́ má bínú, ká tó bẹ̀rẹ̀, ẹ jẹ́ ká fi Olúwa síwájú ká tó kọ orin Yorùbá. Máa pe Alhaji Bádéwá kọ́njọ̀kọ́ fún wa ní àdúrà. Sorry, Alhaji Abbas Bosari, Alhaji Abbas Bosari, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ fún wọn ládùúrà bẹ̀rẹ̀ tó bá wà ń bí. Alhaji Abbas Bosari. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ̀hùn mi tara yín.
Mo kí gbogbo ìgbìmọ̀ ní èní, ọba Elédùmarè, ọba tẹrẹrẹ kárí ayé, ọba àṣekánmọ́kù, ọba àjọkẹ́ ayé, ọba àṣàkẹ́ ọ̀run, ọba lánàá, ọba lónìí, ọba lọ́la, ọba ayérayé, ọba àṣekánmọ́kù. Lórí ètò àpérò à ń pè ẹ́ Olúwa Olúmarè, ẹ jẹ́ wa. Gbogbo ohun tí a bá máa pé lérò, gbogbo ohun tí a bá máa rí sọ, èyí tí ó wúlò fún ilẹ̀ wa ní jẹ́ ká rí sọ. Olúwa Elédùmarè, ọmọ Yorùbá ti wà nínú ìpayín keke. Ọmọ Yorùbá ti wà nínú ìtàjẹ̀sílẹ̀. Ọmọ Yorùbá ti wà nínú àìríjẹ, àìrímu, àìríṣe. Olúwa Elédùmarè, à ń bẹ̀ yín ni. Ẹ jẹ́ kí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ká gbé lárugẹ. Ẹ jẹ́ kí ògo wa yọ. Olúwa baba Elédùmarè, gbogbo àìríjẹ, àìrímu, àìríṣe, ẹ jẹ́ kí ó di ìtàn. Ẹ gbé ògo fún ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ọba Elédùmarè, à ń pè yín ni. Kárí bá ti ṣe, kárọ̀nà gbégbà. Iwájú iwájú ni kí ọ̀pá ẹ̀bì tí ọmọ Yorùbá máa ré sí. Olódùmarè, à ń pè yín, ẹ jẹ́ kí ó ṣeé ṣe. Lórí ètò àpérò, ẹ jẹ́ kárí bá ti ṣe, ẹ jẹ́ kárí ọ̀nà gbégbà. Ọba Elédùmarè, gbogbo tí ó bá fún ilẹ̀ wa ní ìlọsíwájú, tí ó fún ilẹ̀ wa ní ìgbéga, oníjẹ́ kẹ́kẹ́ kárí sọ lénìí. Ọba Elédùmarè, ẹ má fi èdè àìyedè sí àárín wa. Ẹ jẹ́ kárí ọ̀rọ̀ náà sọ, ẹ jẹ́ kárí ṣe, kí a lè gbé ògo fún yín títí lọ láéláé. Ọba Olódùmarè, à ń bẹ̀ yín ni. Ẹ jẹ́ kí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ẹ jẹ́ ká gbé lárugẹ. Ẹ fún wa ṣe, ẹ jẹ́ kárí ṣe, gbogbo àtàwá wà níbí náà Olúwa bá fún wa ní ẹ̀mí gígùn àtàlàáfíà ara. Olúwa á jẹ́ kí kálukú wa kárí ohun rere ṣe nílé ayé, kán lè wí nípa ti àwa pé a ṣe ìwọ̀n tí a lè ṣe. Olúwa ọba Elédùmarè, à ń bẹ̀ yín ni. A wá fi gbogbo ètò náà, gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ náà a fi lé yín lọ́wọ́, kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ kí ó ṣeé ṣe ní orúkọ Olódùmarè ọba tẹ́rẹ kárí ayé. À ń bẹ̀ yín ní Olódùmarè, kí ẹ gba ìpè wa, kí ẹ gba ọpẹ́ wa, kí ẹ gba ìyìn wa, kẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ kárí ṣe. Olódùmarè, à ń bẹ̀ yín ni ó dọwọ́ yín lénìí. Ẹ ṣé.
Ẹ ṣeun Alhaji Abbas Busari, ó máa ju yín sọ ni o, ẹ pẹ́ fún wa. Máa pe Dr. Ifábùkúnmi kí wọ́n jọ̀kọ́ fún wa ní àdúrà ní ti ìbílẹ̀. Dr. Ifábùkúnmi, tọ́bọ̀ àbẹ̀jọ ẹ̀mí tara yín sà. Tó wọn bá sí mbẹ̀, àfi ń dúró dè wọ́n. Máa pe Pastor Ebenezer Bádéwá kán jọ̀kọ́ fún wa ní àdúrà. Pastor Ebenezer Bádéwá, ẹ̀mí tara yín sà. State your meat, sir. Wọ́n sì ń rí tó. Ó dáa. Máa pe alàgbà Kọ́lá Thomas, ẹ jẹ́ fún aládùúrà sà. Ẹ̀mí tara yín sà. Alàgbà Kọ́lá Thomas. Ẹ̀mí sà.
A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run fún àpéjọ wa lénìí. Ẹ jẹ́ kí gbogbo nǹkan tí a ó ṣe kó lè bá àṣẹ lọ́dọ̀ yín ní orúkọ ti Bàbá àti ti Ọmọ àti ti Ẹ̀mí Mímọ́. Àmín.
Ẹ ṣeun bàbá, mo dúpẹ́ o. A máa rí yín bá.
Àṣẹ.
Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, mo kí gbogbo wa pé ẹ káàbọ̀ sí orí ètò àpérò ti abala tí ó kàn ní ọjọ́ òní. A ti fi lẹ́pọ̀ tí a ti fọ̀nà roka, ṣùgbọ́n ká lè tẹ̀síwájú, a fẹ́ ká kọ orin anthem Yorùbá lákòókò tá a wà yìí. Ẹ ṣeun.
Iṣẹ́ wa ẹ̀wà fún ilẹ̀ ìbí wa. Àgbéga, àgbéga, àgbéga fàyè rí. Ìgbàgbọ́ pé láti bẹ̀rù làbọ̀ mọ́. Àṣìṣe, àṣìṣe, àṣìṣe kájọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ni ẹ jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú ọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ ògbàlódé bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ̀. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ gbogbo adúláwọ̀.
Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ àti ògo ọdúnláwọ̀. Iṣẹ́ wà lọ́wọ́ wa. Ọmọ káàárọ̀ oòjíire káàkiri àgbáyé. A dúpẹ́ pé a pè yín, ẹ jẹ́ dé ìpè wa. Ká tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ àpérò ọjọ́ òní, ẹ jẹ́ kí ẹ mọ èèyàn tí àwa náà jẹ́. Orúkọ mi náà Oyèdèjì Fámúyìdé, mo jẹ́ akọ̀wé ètò àpérò yìí. Ní abala tá a wà yìí, a mọ̀ pé a pè yín sórí àpérò ẹ jẹ́ wa. Ṣùgbọ́n kí ni jẹ́ àpérò gan-an? Kí ló fa àpérò? Kí làpérò ń wá? Ibo làpérò ń lọ? kí a tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ tó tòní a fẹ́ kí àwọn tó jẹ́ kọ́kọ́ wọ́n ń ṣe darapọ̀ mọ́ wa àti àwọn tó ti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa kí a lè rán wọn létí nǹkan tí àpérò wà fún àti ibi tí àpérò ń lọ. Ní ṣókí màá pe alága ìgbìmọ̀ àpérò ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n bàbá wa Olúṣẹ́gun Gbádégẹṣin pé kán jọ kán là wá lóye kí làpérò ń wá kí làpérò ń lọ, kí ló fa àpérò gan. Bàbá wa Ọpọ́súnkàn yìí sà, ẹ ṣeun.
Flow is like I'm going to die tonight. What can you tell me? What can you?
Mr. Rainsa, Baba wa Gbádégẹṣin.
Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sir, mo ṣe rárá mi of meet ni o, host. This is Dr. Ifabukumi. Can I say my supplication now, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ẹ ṣeun.
So, Olódùmarè, a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o fún gbogbo ọgbọ́n ìmọ̀ àti òye tẹ́ fún àwọn ṣàǹkànṣàǹkàn nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ọgbọ́n náà ẹ jẹ́ ká lè rí lò. Àwọn tí wọ́n sọ pé ní débi tí a fẹ́ dé kó dákun.
Meet again, sir. Ó ti sọ meet yín.
Nítorí pé omi inú igbó lórí ibi dó sí, wọ́n láwọn àwọn kínkín lómi. Ọ̀pẹ ẹlùjù nígbà tí wọ́n ríbi rọ̀ sí wọ́n wá páwọn rọ̀jọ̀ nímọ̀. Ìwọ́n tí fáfágùn ìgbò tí wọ́n ní kò ní bá ẹkùn gbénú igbó pẹ́ kalẹ̀. Àwa gbé igbó ẹkùn aláhó sárasára. Àwa ni Yorùbá tí wọ́n ní àní bá Nàìjíríà gbégbó pẹ́ kalẹ̀. Àwa gbé igbó ẹkùn aláhó sárasára. Akéré lewé oyè ìwágùn sékélé. Nígbà tá a bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ ewé oyè ìwágùn gàgàrà. Adífá fún Ọ̀rúnmìlà tí ó lórí rere dẹgbẹ́ rẹ̀ tó kù lọ. Orí rere ni ta wá, orí rere ni tẹ̀sù nínú gbogbo Yorùbá pátápátá orí rere la máa ṣe o. Nínú gbogbo ẹ̀yà tó kù lágbára Elédùà àwa la máa yọrí jù wọn lọ, àwa la máa kọ́kọ́ ṣoríire ń bẹ̀. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́, ẹ kú àpérò.
Ẹ ṣeun bàbá mi, ẹ ṣeun yóò mọ ju yín sọ o. Ẹ
Àṣẹ o.
pẹ́ fún wa lágbára Èdùmàrè. Àṣẹ. Bàbá mi Gbádégẹṣin, ẹ ṣé mọ́ bínú sí mi o. Èyí ló kàn báyìí sà.
Dúpẹ́, mo fẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn, mo kí gbogbo yín o, ẹ kú àpérò, mo kí àwọn tí ó ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lónìí fún ìgbà àkọ́kọ́. Nǹkan tó fa àpérò oríṣiríṣi ni, but èyí tó ṣe pàtàkì, a ti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀kọ́, a ti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ìlera, a ti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ètò iṣẹ́ ọ̀gbìn sọ̀gbẹ́dìgboro, a ti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí eṣú tó jẹ wá, a ti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí golden era. Òní orí ètò ààbò ńlá fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀. Mo sì kí gbogbo àwọn èèyàn tá a ti fìwé pè tí wọ́n ti gbọ́ wa. Amòfin àgbà Femi FALANA wọ́n ti wà láàrin wa láti ṣe alága tòní. Honorable Bukọla Oreọfẹ wọ́n ti wà láàrin wa láti ṣe moderator àti rapporteur. Mo dúpẹ́ pé ọ̀gágun àgbà fẹ̀yìntì ọ̀gágun Chris Olukolade, ọ̀gágun Henry Ayoola, ọ̀mọ̀wé Victor Taiwo, gbogbo wọn ti wà láàrin wa. Mo fẹ́ share audio tí mo mọ̀ pé gbogbo wa ti gbọ́, ṣùgbọ́n ó sì yẹ ká tún gbọ́ kó lè fún wa ní àǹfààní láti mọ ibi tá a wà, ibi tá a ń lọ.
Sir, sorry. You and that money, God dey punish you and your family.
Bàbá àgbọ̀mọ̀. Àgbọ̀ díẹ̀ yẹn. Gbọ́dọ̀ yẹn bàbá. We couldn't hear.
Wọ́n wà on mute.
Gbọ́ rárá. Okay. Now, mo fẹ́ just contextualize mọ̀ páwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n wa àwọn tá a ti pè wọ́n á bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ààbò. Nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ nínú ọ́díò yẹn Gbẹ́ngà Owólabí ibí ló ti lọ, Maryland ibí ló ti lọ sí Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ níbi tí ó ti ní hòtẹ́ẹ̀lì sí. Wọ́n gbé ibi tí wọ́n gbé e lọ, àwọn èèyàn tó wá láti Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ wọ́n ń sọ fún wa pé bóyá ló fi ju bí 1 kilometre sí ojú ọ̀nà. Àwọn ilé wà ládùúgbò bẹ̀, àwọn ọlọ́pàá ń káàkiri. So bí kò ṣe lè sí ààbò nílùú yẹn níbẹ̀ yẹn kò yé mi. But ẹ gbọ́ nǹkan tí àwọn tó gbé e sọ. Let's kill this man. Ẹ jẹ́ pápá ẹni yìí. Do you know how many years we spent before we were able to kidnap him successfully? You and that 2 million, God will punish you. You and that money, God will punish you and your family. You dey talk to me, say 2 million, abi. Your brother, Owolabi, talk, say he go give me 50 million. You talk, say 2 million. If you want to talk about 2 million, no, call this number tomorrow. And then in Philly, I am satisfied with his death because he's not the only human being. If I kill him today, I will go and kidnap another person. After all, he's not my dad. 20 million can't free him from me. I will not collect 50 million if it misses 5 million. Nǹkan táwọn bandits, àwọn terrorists tí wọ́n sọ nìyẹn. Ní Tuesday, àwọn èèyàn Owólabí wọ́n mú 5 million lọ fún wọn. Wọ́n gba 5 million yẹn. Wọ́n sì pa Owólabí. Wọ́n pa Rachel Ọ̀pádélé, ọmọ LAUTECH tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ nítorí pé ASUU wà on strike. Ibi tá a wà lórílẹ̀-èdè wa nìyí. Tá a bá sọ pé kò lè kàn wá, irọ́ la pa. Ó sọ pé if I kill him today, I will go and kidnap another person. Ta ló mọ̀ bóun ni ẹni tí yóò tún kidnap next? So ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo wa ni, kí la fẹ́ ṣe? A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tá a pè tí wọ́n jẹ́ wa lónìí. Gbogbo wa la ti ń retí. Mo sì gbàdúrà pé Ọlọ́run yóò fún wa ṣe. Ibo la fẹ́ lọ, ibo la fẹ́ dé, kí la fẹ́ ṣe, kí làwọn gómìnà wa ń ṣe, kí ni wọ́n lè ṣe. Mo kà á nínú Punch láàárọ̀ yìí. Why Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn Benue Corps may not get AK-47 license. Wọ́n sọ síbẹ̀ pé gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì ò tíì ready láti fún wọn ní license. Why? Because Inspector General ti put embargo on issuing license. Báwọn terrorists wọ́n rí ìbọn, wọ́n rí ammunition. Ẹnìkan fi embargo sí wọn. Kí la fẹ́ ṣe? Ọlọ́run yóò ràn wá lọ́wọ́, kí má gbà wá lákòókò. Mo dá a padà sọ́dọ̀ Dr. Ayọ̀dèjì tí ó bá wa introduce àwọn chairman àti moderator. Moderator ó sì introduce àwọn speakers wa. Ẹ ṣé, ẹ kú àpérò.
Bàbá mi, ẹ ṣeun, ẹ pẹ́ fún wa, ẹ kú iṣẹ́, ẹ kú ọ̀rọ̀ Oòduà gbẹ̀yìn. Kí mi àfẹ́ àkókò ṣòfò, máa fẹ́ introduce moderator wa. Ní tí wọ́n fi ránṣẹ́ sí mi, òyìnbó lọ́kọ́. Àwọn ò sì mọ òyìnbó túmọ̀ tó bẹ́ẹ̀ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ṣé ẹ gbà mí láyé ń kà lóyìnbó? Ẹ ṣàánú mi o. Mr. Bukọla Oreọfẹ holds a master's degree in administrative law and public policy analysis. He was a financial analyst in a global bank in New York and consultant on Wall Street for investment banks. He is currently Associate Director, Risk Management for an environmental safety company in New York. He is a political activist who has led different organizations dedicated to human rights, pro-democracy, constitutional governance in Nigeria. He is the past president of Egbe Yoruba, New York chapter. He's married with children. He's my friend. Ọ̀rẹ́ mi ni wọ́n. Àwọn tí a jọ ń ṣiṣẹ́ nípa ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nínú Ẹgbẹ́ Ọmọ Yorùbá ni wọ́n. Ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá jẹ wọ́n lọ́kàn gidigidi gan. Mo dẹ̀ kí wọ́n ní ọjọ́ òní pé wọ́n káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí. Alàgbà Bukọla Oreọfẹ, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí o.
Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ o, ẹ kú kó lè dáhùn.
Ẹ̀yin ló máa bá wa darí ètò tòní. Ká lè tẹ̀síwájú, mo fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹni tí ó máa jẹ́ alága tòní náà. Ẹni tá a mọ̀ ni wọ́n, ẹni ńlá, ẹni pàtàkì làwọn náà. Àwọn ni Barrister Femi FALANA SAN. Wọ́n attend University of Femi Awolowo ní Ilé-Ifẹ̀ ní ọdún tó ṣe díẹ̀ 1997 to 1981. Wọ́n gba oyè ìmọ̀ òfin ní 1981. Wọ́n dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣiṣẹ́ bí amòfin ní 1992. Wọ́n ṣe kíní àgùnbánirọ̀ nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà ní 1983. Wọ́n dẹ̀ jẹ́ alága àwọn tó ń ṣe ìkòwò nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Wọ́n dá FALANA Chambers sílẹ̀ tó ń ṣe ìmọ̀ òfin. Is married to ìyá wa Fúnmiláyọ̀ tí wọ́n jẹ́ ìyàwó wọn láti ọjọ́ pípẹ́. Alàgbà FALANA, ọ̀rọ̀ wọn nípa ìjàngbara ọmọ Yorùbá ó tó jẹ́ mẹ́ta náà, gbogbo wa la mọ̀ wọ́n bí wọ́n ṣe ọ̀bọ̀kan wọn ṣeré nípa ètò ìjọba nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, ìfìyàjẹ ọmọ ènìyàn ní gbogbo ọ̀nà àti gbogbo oríṣiríṣi kan káàkiri bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. Wọ́n ti jà fún ìjàngbara tẹ̀síwájú ọmọ Yorùbá àti ọmọ Nàìjíríà fúngbà pípẹ́. Wọ́n kọ oríṣiríṣi ìwé. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìtẹ̀síwájú Nàìjíríà pàápàá Yorùbá ó jẹ wọ́n lọ́kàn gan-an. Ìyẹn la fi pè wọ́n lọ́jọ́ òní kí wọ́n ṣe alága fún àpérò tòní. Bàbá wa Barrister Femi FALANA, mo kí yín káàbọ̀ sórí ètò ìsà o.
Ẹ kúlẹ̀ o. Ẹ kú pàdé o.
Ẹ ṣeun bàbá wa. Alàgbà Oreọfẹ, ọpọ́n sọ́kàn yìí ẹ̀ la máa darí ètò yìí. Mo mọ̀ pé ẹ̀kọ́ pípẹ́ alága wa kí wọ́n kọ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ṣáájú ká fi bẹ̀rẹ̀. Alàgbà Oreọfẹ, ẹ gbà lẹ́nu mi kó dorin o. Ẹ ṣeun.
Ẹ ṣeun, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Ọ̀rẹ́ mi láti ìgbà tí ó ti pẹ́, dókítà wa Ayọ̀ Fámúyídé. Ẹ kú iṣẹ́ ìlú, ẹ sì kú iṣẹ́ takuntakun tí ẹ ń ṣe lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ọlọ́run á fi iṣẹ́ yẹn. Ẹ káàárọ̀, ẹ káàsán, ẹ kú ìrọ̀lẹ́ níbi gbogbo ni ẹ ti ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Mo kí ẹ̀yin bàbá àti ẹ̀yin ìyá wa, ẹ̀yin ẹ̀gbọ́n, àbúrò àti ọ̀rẹ́ wa. A kí yín káàbọ̀ sí ètò àpérò ilé lóko fún àtúnbí àti ìsọdọ̀tun ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, èyí tí àwọn olóyìnbó ń pè ní Global Summit on Renaissance and Renewal of Yoruba Land. Àsìkò yìí dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ẹgbẹ́ Ọmọ Yorùbá ti North America tí wọ́n ń ṣe agbátẹrù ètò àpérò yìí lábẹ́ àwọn olùdarí wa, Dókítà Akíndùtirẹ̀ àti gbogbo ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ lápapọ̀. Àjíǹde ara yóò máa jẹ́ wa o. A tún fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn ìgbìmọ̀ tí wọ́n bá wa fi ètò àpérò yìí lélẹ̀ lábẹ́ alága ọ̀mọ̀wé ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Pòfẹ́sọ̀ Ṣẹ́gun Gbádébọ̀ àti àwọn ìgbìmọ̀ ìgbìmọ̀ àpérò. Ẹ ṣeun lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Ọlọ́run á fi iṣẹ́ yìn yín fún gbogbo akitiyan yín lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Ẹgbẹ́ Ọmọ Yorùbá àti ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Òdo àgbéwà o, á júṣe fún wa. Ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí sẹ́ṣọ̀nù kẹjọ àpérò ló jẹ́. Lónìí a máa fi ikùn lu ikùn lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Mo nígbàgbọ́ wípé ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò ó jẹ gbogbo wa lógún, pàápàá jùlọ ní àsìkò tí a wà yìí. Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ rí ni tí ìlú ò bá fararọ, wọ́n ní àwọn ènìyàn ń sùn, wọ́n pa ojú kan dé, wọ́n fi ojú kejì wọ́n fi ń wo àyíká wọn. àsìkò tá a wà yìí àwọn èèyàn wa ò tiẹ̀ wá lè sùn rárá mọ́. Èmi náà ní ọ̀rẹ́ kan tó wà lórí àpérò bá ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí. Oṣù méjì tó kọjá ni wọ́n gbé wọn. 6 million naira ni wọ́n fi gbà wọ́n. Wọ́n lè sọ fún wọn pé báwọn ṣe wà yìí àwọn ò lè mú wọn lọ síbi táwọn ń lọ. Àwọn ò dẹ̀ lè fi wọ́n sílẹ̀ láì gbowó, àwọn máa pa wọ́n ni tówó ò bá dé. Lẹ́yìn ìgbà tó ń gba owó náà tó fi wọ́n sílẹ̀. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run kan bá wa darapọ̀ mọ́ ọjọ́ títòní. Ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò yìí ó jẹ́ gbogbo wa lógún. Olúkálùkù wa la mọ bí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ṣe ń ká wa lára. Pàápàá jùlọ ọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ajínigbé tí wọ́n ń gba owó tí àwọn ènìyàn wa tí wọ́n ti gbabẹ̀ pàdánù wọn. Ní àsìkò yìí, mo fẹ́ fi dá yín lójú wípé àwọn tá a pè wá sórí ètò àpérò lọ́jọ́ tòní, àwọn èèyàn pàtàkì ni wọ́n. Àwọn tí wọ́n ní ìmọ̀ wọ́n sì ní òye tí wọ́n máa lè tan ìmọ́lẹ̀ sí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí, wọ́n sì máa lè là wá lóye ibi tí a máa darí kọ láti lè fi ààbò tó dájú tó péye fún àwọn ènìyàn wa. Ní àsìkò yìí, wọ́n pe àwọn alága wa fún ètò yìí. Wọ́n ti ṣàlàyé nípa wọn fún wa. Ẹni mímọ̀ tí gbogbo wa mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mọ̀wó ni wọ́n. Inú wa sì dùn pé a pè wọ́n sì jẹ́ wa. Òun láti sọ fún yín wípé àwọn alága a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín sà torí pé a gbọ́ pé yẹ kẹ́ wà ní Ghana lọ́jọ́ ti tòní. Àmọ́ ṣá torí kẹ́ lè darapọ̀ mọ́ ètò yìí, ìrìn àjò Ghana Egbe sí Egbe kan wípé ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá ó jẹ yín lógún pé máa bá wa darapọ̀. Ẹ ṣeun, a dúpẹ́ sà. Ní àsìkò yìí, ọ̀pọ̀ síkàn yìí wà ní ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣáájú láti fi bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò tòní. Barrister Femi FALANA, you have the floor, sir.
Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Mo kí lọ́mọdé lágbà. Ẹ kú pàdé o. Inú mi dùn láti wà pẹ̀lú yín lónìí. Mo tiẹ̀ wà lákàá lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yẹn ń Ghana. Ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ ń sọ lénìí ó ṣe pàtàkì fún gbogbo wa, fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá àti gbogbo àwọn èèyàn wa ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Lónìí, a sọ̀rọ̀ bóyá ká ti sọ nípa orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Ní pàtàkì nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, lẹ́kàárọ̀ ojíire. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Gbádégẹ̀sì ti sọ fún alẹ́ nǹkan, kò sẹ́ni tí wàhálà ò bá ń lu wa lónìí. Òun náà la fi máa sọ pé òjòjò tó ń ṣàbọ̀yadé gbogbo ọlọ́ya ní í ṣe. Kò sẹ́ni tó lè sùn pẹ̀lú ojú méjì mọ́ Nàìjíríà. Tẹ́lẹ̀ ìmọ́lẹ̀ ni Yorùbá jẹ́ ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà, aṣíwájú ni wá. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tó ń ṣèjọba wa lónìí nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó láti Èkìtì sékòó. Òun nìyà fi ń jẹ àwọn èèyàn wa. Ọ̀rọ̀ mi ò ní pọ̀, ṣùgbọ́n màá jẹ́ kẹ́ mọ̀ bí ta bá struggle Nàìjíríà dé. Ní 2003, nígbà tí olóyè Ọbásanjọ́ tó jẹ́ president lọ́jọ́ náà lọ́hùn tó fẹ́ dá èyí tá à ń pè ní civil defence ilẹ̀, mo pe àwọn gómìnà wa ẹ wá o. Lábẹ́ òfin section 214 of the constitution, wọ́n fi síbẹ̀ pé ọlọ́pàá orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà nìkan ló gbọ́dọ̀ wà tó lè gbébọn lù wá. There shall be only one Nigeria police force. Tọ́básanjọ́ bá ń set up another police force, ẹ̀yin náà ẹ múra torí bí Nàìjíríà ti ń lọ lónìí ní nǹkan tí mo rí wájú wa, wàhálà ń bọ̀ o, ó sì máa dọ̀rọ̀ onílégbélé o. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn gómìnà wa wọn ò dá mi lóhùn. Mo pa wọn tó wà ní National Assembly l'Abuja táwọn jẹ́ Yorùbá, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ wàhálà ń bọ̀ nílùú wa, ẹ jẹ́ káwa náà ká take advantage pé máa fẹ́ establish another police force, káwa náà pariwo nípa state police. Wọn ò dá mi lóhùn. À ń bá lọ. Láti ìgbà yẹn sí ọjọ́ òní, EFCC wọ́n gbébọn, ICPC wọ́n ń gbébọn, immigration wọ́n ń gbébọn, àwọn ẹlẹ́wọ̀n correctional center ló ń pè wọ́n sí, wọ́n ń gbébọn, àwọn tó ń ṣọ́bọ̀dì wọ́n ń gbébọn, customs, federal road safety corps wọ́n ń gbébọn àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Mo tún NDLA wọ́n ń gbébọn, mo tún pa àwọn èèyàn wa. Táwọn ilé ìbá lè máa gbébọn contrary to the provision of the constitution, ẹ̀yin náà ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ́lọ́pàá tiwa tí ó máa gbébọn. Ìgé wọn dá wa lóhùn. Ń bò yá níbi tá a bá dé lónìí ni pé ní nǹkan bí ọdún méjì sẹ́yìn, àwọn gómìnà wa wọ́n ní wọ́n máa lámọ̀tẹ́kùn, wọ́n ti announce ìjọba Àbújá sọ pé no, kò sí nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀, pé èèwọ̀. Attorney General Nàìjíríà pariwo kò sí nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ lábẹ́ òfin, ọlọ́pàá nìkan àti àmì ló lè gbébọn ń lu wa. Àbí sọkúsọ kọ́ ló ń sọ yìí. Mo sọ fún Màlàmí lọ́jọ́ náà lọ́hùn pé sọkúsọ pátápátá ló ń sọ yìí. Ní Borno lọ́hùn, àwọn tá à ń pè ní JTF wọ́n ń gbébọn, Joint Task Force, Civilian Joint Task Force. Mo dẹ̀ pé Attorney General lọ́hùn, Mr. Kaka, báwo làwọn èèyàn ń ṣe ń gbébọn? Ó láwọn ń gba láísẹ̀nsì ni pé ọ̀gá ṣẹlẹ̀ ní káwọn tó wà armed with bows and arrows kán lọ máa confront àwọn ọmọ terrorist. Ẹ jẹ́ pé ẹ fẹ́ pa wọ́n. Mo tún rí i pé àwọn kan náà wà ní Kano North West, wọ́n pọ̀ ní Isba tó máa ń fọ́gbò tó máa ń fọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀, àwọn tó mọtí, ọlọ́pàá náà ni wọ́n. Nígbà mo wá pariwo bẹ́ẹ̀ ojú ti Attorney General Nàìjíríà pé tẹ bá ní Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn is illegal, JTF civilian wing must be illegal, Isba corps must be illegal. So bí ìjọba ti rárá dákẹ́ nìyẹn lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn. Ṣùgbọ́n mo wá pa àwọn gómìnà wa, ẹ lọ sílé ìṣòfin yín ká lè lófin tá a máa fi support Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn. Ìyẹn làwọn gómìnà wa ṣòfin. Mo tún wá pè wọ́n, ẹ lè ní káwọn tó fẹ́ confront àwọn Fúlàní pẹ̀lú AK-47, àwọn terrorists, àwọn bandits àtàwọn kidnappers, even armed robbers, ẹ lè ní káwọn èèyàn wa kàn lọ máa gbé ṣakabùlà láti bá wọn jà. Again, dá wa lóhùn. Ṣùgbọ́n bí tá a bá dé lónìí o, mi gbọ́dọ̀ tàn yín. Bí tá a bá dé lónìí, àwọn Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn wọ́n ṣe tán o láti protect àwọn èèyàn wa, ṣùgbọ́n wọn ò níbọn ṣakabùlà ló kó fún wọn. Mo dẹ̀ pa àwọn gómìnà wa for 2 reasons. Apply for licenses for them. And I've told at least 3 or 4 governors, if your application is refused, I will go to court for you free of charge on 2 grounds. Number 1, each some persons, mo ṣe sọ lé lábẹ́òkúta ń jẹrin bí táwa pẹ̀lú Professor Ṣóyínká ti pàdé pé professor wa tó wà níbí wọ́n apply fún license ní gbogbo ọgbà láti gbébọn. Àwọn pààyàn àwọn dáhùn wọ́n ti lọ lé wọn tó jẹ́ pé àwọn náà ló lé wọn pẹ̀lú ìbọn wọn. Mo ní if individuals can be allowed to carry guns, to bear arms, nothing should stop the governor of Lagos to ask for 10,000 licenses fún àwọn ọmọ wa ẹgbẹ̀rún lọ́nà bíi mẹ́wàá, 10,000 young people to defend 21 million people. Number 2, táwọn tó wà ń bọ̀ nù tó ń bá gbà fún wọn láti gbébọn tó ń gbà fún yín, ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ lé ẹjọ́ pé this is discriminatory, illegal under section 42 of the Constitution. Again, kò sí gómìnà tó dá wa lò. Ẹ̀rù tí ẹ ń bà ìjọba Èkó, ẹ̀rù ń bà ìjọba Èkó láti lámọ̀tẹ́kùn. Wọ́n pè wọ́n ní neighborhood watch torí àwọn ará Èkó wọn ò fẹ́ káwọn tó wà l'Ábùjá bínú sí wọn. Ṣé nǹkan tí mò ń sọ yé yín o? Are you with me?
Àgbọ́yé.
Now, nígbà táwa bá dé báyìí, ibi tó wá burú sí ní gbogbo ìgbà tẹ́ bá ṣí pépà wò, ẹ máa rí ibi táwọn ọlọ́pàá tó ti ń parade àwọn kidnappers tó ń parade àwọn terrorists. Àwọn Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn Ìbàdàn níjẹta bíi 150 náà tún mú láwọn tó ń bọ̀ látòkè ọya láti Zamfara tó fẹ́ gbógun báluwa. Ṣùgbọ́n tó bá ti parade wọn tán o. No attorney general in the Southwest. None. Ló máa pe ọ̀gá ọlọ́pàá ẹ máa ṣe parade àwọn kan láàárọ̀ yìí. Can I have their case files? Lónìí, you'll be surprised, and I will provide the information later. The greatest killings in the Southwest, or the greatest killers, you'll be surprised, and not kidnappers. Àwọn ritual murderers tó ń fèèyàn ṣe oògùn owó, tó ń gba ẹ̀jẹ̀ èèyàn ọmọ ọlọ́mọ, tó ń gbà àwọn ọmọ taṣẹ̀ bí, tó ń gbà àwọn obìnrin ní gbogbo ìgbà. Táwọn ọlọ́pàá máa ń parade kò sínú wọn tá à ń try o. Ibi tí rule of law bá ti exist, you can't talk about security. So the point I'm making that for gbogbo àwọn tẹ́ ń gbọ́ pé àwọn Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn mú, how many of them are being prosecuted? Nígbà tó ń lọ gbé ṣe FALANA níjọ́sí. Àwọn ọlọ́pàá l'Abuja àti SSS, they paraded 2 sets of people. Wọ́n láwọn ló ṣe. Wọ́n á pe ọ̀gá ọlọ́pàá lọ́jọ́ náà lọ́hùn, àrínsè, kí lẹ̀ ń sọ yìí? Sọkúsọ leléyìí. Nígbà tẹ́yìn bá parade àwọn kan, táwọn ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ parade àwọn míì, kò sínú wọn tá lè try. Ẹ má sọ sọkúsọ yìí mọ́. And then call the Attorney General of Ondo State. When the Taiwo said, rush to Abuja, my friend. Shifala was kidnapped. Don't allow the police and the SSS to play on our collective intelligence. Therefore, go and ask for the file. That was how we were able to get the police and the SSS to reconcile their suspect. And we're able to prosecute those who kidnapped Chief Falai. But I will just give you one final example. When Fashola was governor in Lagos State, àwọn ọmọ kan wọ Èkó in 2013 with about 20 boxes of explosives. Wọ́n fẹ́ máa blow buildings lẹ́kọ̀ọ́, including churches and mosques. Ọlọ́run bá a ṣe lọ́jọ́ náà lọ́hùn, bọ́n ti ń wọ̀lù làwọn ará ìlú mú wọn, náà rí wọn, náà sọ fún ìjọba. Nígbà mú wọn tán, Fashola lọ sí Abuja. Since terrorism is a state offense, àti máa wọn terror suspects kan lẹ́kọ̀ọ́, ṣe fẹ́ prosecute wọn àbí káwa ṣe lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Àwọn Jonathan, àwọn ò tiẹ̀ ráyè láti lọ prosecute ẹnìkan lẹ́kọ̀ọ́. Okay, a fiat, because it's a federal offense. They gave Lagos a fiat. Fashola came down at the Joko. They were taken to Badagry quietly and prosecuted about 40 of them. They were jailed, long terms of imprisonment. Because pariwo ẹ̀ lọ́jọ́ náà lọ́hùn, káwọn wèrè má rò pé Lagos is so penetrant. Now, but lónìí, because of our demand for restructuring, we are giving the impression, a very dangerous impression, pé ó dìgbà tá a bá ṣe restructure, àbí ó dìgbà tá a bá pín Nàìjíríà, ká tó lè máa sọ̀rọ̀ governance, and our governors are very happy. Today, quote me, there's no governor in the Southwest that does not receive at least 300 million naira per month. One day you told you 1 billion. You can quote me for what they call security vote. But we'll see any governor in the Southwest only don't low 25% of security vote to secure the people in their state. I'm therefore going to, before we invite àwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tó fẹ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀, mo dẹ̀ rò pé inú mi á dùn tá a bá lè sòótọ́ fúnra wọn lónìí. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà exposed, tẹ́ wà ń ta, you all agree with me that security is technology based. The technology ní gbogbo àfi ń bára wa sọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo ayé yìí. Now, drone. Wọ́n láwọn boys wa tó ń ti wá bá mi lọ́fíìsì pọ̀ ọ̀gá ẹ kò ṣẹ́ gbogbo ìtẹ́ ìsọ̀ ń pa ọlọ́pàá ń pa security ń pa ààbò ìlú wa. Pé nǹkan táwọn wà lọ Sókótó ó wà lápò Sókótó. Boy kan wà ń Ìbàdàn, Dr. Ayoola, ọmọ Jọ́sí Ayoola. ó ti ṣe drone locally made to help our people to monitor and arrest, track all these criminals. As I'm talking to you today, no government in the Southwest, no governor has shown interest. Apart from our Amotekun call their leader, lawyer, Olori Ogbeni, but after that, nothing has happened. Now, Lagos is and I said it last week, Lagos is the largest city in the world without CCTV cameras. When you have CCTV cameras, how do you monitor? How do you arrest those who have caused problems? Because so far, CCTV cameras. Ìgbà tí wọ́n pa àwọn èèyàn lọ́wọ́ ní chọ́ọ̀chì lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta lèmi wá sọ pé ó tún máa ṣẹlẹ̀ o. Igi gbọgbọrọ má gún mi lójú wọn là ń dẹ̀. So now you don't just kápariwo ká regret nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ káwọn ìjọba máa issue press statement as if you are a student union. And at the end of it, wọ́n ní Akérédolú, you're still an advocate. Ó kù díẹ̀ káàtó. Everywhere. If we had that CCTV cameras in that church, by now we'll have arrested all the criminals. It was on that basis that Governor Akeredolu has now issued a directive that all public institutions in Ondo State must install CCTV cameras. No other state in the Southwest has taken that decision. So if Lagos cannot do that, that has the resources, our young girls are being raped. Even in government buses, BRT buses. So the point I'm therefore making is that we must decide today. And I'm happy that a retired military officer, a retired general, who will give us, from his own perspective, professional advice. But for me, our governors, number one, should ensure that the Amotekun members are armed to the teeth. And the only way you can do that, and that is why you must acquire licenses. The governor of Zamfara, in a desperate situation recently, asked the people in that state, acquire a bomb. I personally called him, Governor, what I read, the secretary said it is true, sir. Our people are frustrated. As the governor, I cannot protect them, so I've asked them to protect themselves. It's dangerous, as you see in America here. Uncontrolled license, can lead to its own problem. But in our case, we are simply saying, you are setting up a Amotekun of about 5,000, 10,000 young people. The young people are ready to defend their people. They are ready to defend their communities. Let us empower them. Secondly, let us ensure that security gadgets are acquired, drones, satellites, and the rest of them, so that business invest security even fáwọn agbọn ọmọ nílùú inú wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ mi ò lè lọ sékìtì lónìí láì di pé mo láwọn tó máa ṣọ́ mi àbáwọn kò sáwọn ará ilé mi tó lè lọ sékìtì. That is the situation with all of us. Even when you have 2 or 3 policemen, to guide you, and the criminals come with about 10 or 20 people, and you will just be wasting the lives of the policemen by giving yourself a false sense of security. And they are killing people. So secondary school students are being kidnapped. And we must not wait. What kidnap I'm secondary schools lepe on those things. But we must not wait until things collapse completely in the Southwest. And I think this is the essence of this meeting. So I would like to thank the organizers of this meeting. And I want to assure you, we are ready to free our people from security. President Buhari, àwọn bandits terror wọn náà máa kidnap ẹ lọ́jọ́ kan. And they are going to do that. They are going to do it. Ó tiẹ̀ lóun ò mọ̀ wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n máa kidnap òun kẹbàá mọ wàhálà tó ń bẹ lù wá. Nítorí náà màá dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ pé pàdé yìí lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí. And after we have listened to our speakers, gbogbo wa gbọ́dọ̀ decide lónìí pé we are not going to leave this program at the level of cross-fertilizing ideas. Àwa decide látòní lọ. Báwo la ṣe fẹ́ ṣèlú wa? Those of you in the West who are exposed, you must help us for the gadgets. We can then go home and harass these people. Currently, we have a case in Ibadan, filed by Femi Aborishade. He's from Okeogun. He can no longer go home. So we had to go to court. That the governor of Oyo State, the president of Nigeria, must secure Oyo State so that my friend can be able to go home. The case is in court. We're expecting judgment any moment from now. So once again, I want to thank the show. Thank you very much. Moderator.
God bless you, FF. God bless you.
Ẹ ṣé gan-an ni amòfin àgbà Femi FALANA. Kò sígbà tí ẹ bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà tí ẹ kì í kan abẹníkò. Àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kéré, ó máa ń jẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣíjú, dẹ̀ máa ń jẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ tó máa ń ní ọgbọ́n púpọ̀. Bẹ́ ṣe sọ yẹn náà ló ṣe rí, ìbànújẹ́ ọkàn ló jẹ́ wípé ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò wa, ibi tó wà yìí, ó ti wá di pé kò sí hope nítorí pé a mọ ẹni tó máa tún ṣẹlẹ̀ sí ní ọ̀la. Àwọn ohun tí ẹ bá wa sọ, àwọn nǹkan tí ó ṣe pàtàkì ni, a sì ń kọ wọ́n sílẹ̀. Nítorí pé gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ ṣe sọ, àpérò kò kí ń ṣe àkọsọ̀rọ̀ nìkan. Àpérò wá pé ká finú kan koríkorí, ká fikùn lukùn, ká sì wá tún gbé ẹsẹ̀ láti rí pé ohun tá a bá sọ, láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sọ láti oṣù kẹfà ọdún yìí, a lè máa sọ tí di ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ láti rí pé àtúnṣe ìgbà ọ̀tun dé bá orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá. Ohun tá à ń gbìyànjú láti ṣe. Gbogbo ohun tẹ́tí wa ló yé wa, gbogbo ẹ̀ náà la sì máa mú papọ̀ fún àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ wa. Àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ bí àwọn gómìnà wa wọ́n ṣe láti gba license láti rí pé àwọn àmọ̀tẹ́kùn wa wọ́n lè gbébọn. Ohun tó bá da fún Táyé ó yẹ kó da fún Kẹ́hìndé ni. Àwọn ará òkè ọ̀hún wọ́n lè gbébọn táwọn èèyàn tiwa ò lè gbébọn. Àwọn gómìnà wa wọ́n ní láti ṣe ju bọ́n ṣe ń ṣe lọ. Wọn lè máa gba dúró owó yẹn kó má dẹ̀ lè ná kankan sínú ẹ̀ sí ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò fún àwọn ènìyàn wa. Àwọn láti rí pé technology ó jẹ́ underlining principle nípa ṣe máa jà láti lè ní ààbò tó péye fún àwọn ènìyàn wa. Àwa tá sì wà ní òkè òkun náà à ń láti sowọ́pọ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn ará ilé láti rí pé ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò ó jẹ́ ohun tí à ń láti mú ṣe. Ẹ ṣé gan ni sà. Ẹ̀yin náà lè máa bá wa kágbá ètò náà nílẹ̀ tó bá máa fẹ́ ṣe tán. Ohun tó bá ṣì kù fún yín láti bá wa sọ, bá dàkókò yẹn náà ẹ máa bá wa sọ. Mo fẹ́ sọ fún wa pé ètò tá à ń ṣe yìí ó wà live lórí David Hamilton Voice 2 orí Facebook àti orí YouTube. Gbogbo àgbáyé ni wọ́n ti ń wò wá, ni wọ́n ti ń gbọ́ wa. Àwọn tó sì ń gbọ́ wa wọ́n nígbàgbọ́ wípé ètò yìí á tàn ìmọ́lẹ̀, á sì fún wa ní pathway láti lè fi rí pé ààbò ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ó jẹ́ ohun tó péye. Ní àsìkò yìí máa wá pé àwọn èèyàn pàtàkì tó yẹ pé wọ́n ní experience, wọ́n ní ìmọ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ security matters, àwọn ajagun fẹ̀yìntì. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín sà, torí pé a mọ̀ pé èní Sátidé àwọn ohun tẹ́ lè fi àsìkò yìí ṣe pọ̀, àmọ́ ṣàpì ẹsẹ̀ jẹ́ wa. Màá kọ́kọ́ pe ẹni àkọ́kọ́ tó jẹ́ pé àkọlé ọ̀rọ̀ tiwọn òun la pè ní factors responsible for wholesale security failure in Nigeria. Àwọn tó máa bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ yìí, àwọn ni Ọ̀gágun Major General Chris Olukolade. Ó tó di pé wọ́n bá wa sọ̀rọ̀, màá kàn fẹ́ sọ nípa nǹkan díẹ̀ nípa wọn lórí ohun tí wọ́n fi ṣọwọ́ sí wa. Major General Chris Olukolade was born in Zaria, Kaduna State, to parents who hail from Igbani in Ondo State. After his primary education at both Igbani and Zaria, he was admitted to the Nigerian military in Zaria. On completion of basic military training and secondary education at the NMS, he attended the University of Ife, now OAU. He graduated in 1983 with Bachelor of Arts degree. He was commissioned second lieutenant in 1982 after a successful outcome of his appearance on the Nigerian Army Commissioning Board, with the academic reports of his third year in the university as a soldier and a student. Since his commission, he has undertaken a number of additional military courses in Nigeria and overseas, including the United States Defense Formation School, Indianapolis, USA. He has a master's degree in public administration from University of Lagos and a postgraduate diploma from the International Institute of Journalism in Abuja. General Olukolade was promoted Brigadier General in 2008 and rose to Major General in December 2013. He has held a number of appointments in the Army, among which are Army Public Relations Officer and later Assistant Director of Army Public Relations in a number of military formations in different parts of the country. He was once the Military Public Relations Officer to the Chief of Defense Staff and Secretary for Defense, and he has served in extra-regimental capacity as one of which is the Special Assistant Military Administrator in Sokoto State. In foreign military operations, the senior officer was in ECOMOG force in Liberia and Sierra Leone from 1998 to 2000, spokesman and chief military press information officer of the multinational force. In 2008, he was appointed Pioneer Director of Corporate Affairs, Army Welfare Holdings. He was the Director of Army Public Relations from 2009 to 2011. Later served in the Defense Headquarters from 2015, first as Assistant Director Reserves and later as Director of Defense Information at the peak of the nation's war on terror. He finally retired voluntarily in 2015 after a total of 30 years in active service. While in office, he added another feather to his cap when he bagged the award of Best Security Information Manager in West Africa as a result of his outstanding management of information on Nigeria's war on terror, awarded by the Security Watch Africa at a colorful event held in Johannesburg, South Africa. General Olukolade is chairman of the board of Center for Crisis Communications in Nigeria. He's a man of the gospel, married with children. Lákòókò yìí, mo fi tọ̀wọ̀tọ̀wọ̀ pé àwọn bàbá wa ajagun fẹ̀yìntì, Major General Chris Olukolade kúnjọ fún bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tí a pè ní àpilẹ̀ ẹ̀ta pè ní factors responsible for wholesale security failure in Nigeria. Major General Chris Olukolade. Ẹ bá àwọn mìtara yín sà.
Hey, meet, sir. Hey, meet, sir. You can meet, sir.
Okay.
Oh, it's a bit further.
You can meet, sir.
All right, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
All right. Yes. Ẹ kú lé, ẹ káàsán, ẹ dẹ̀ kú alẹ́ níbikíbi tẹ́ bá wà gbogbo àgbáyé, ẹ̀yin ẹ̀gbọ́n wa, àbúrò wa, bàbá wa àti àwọn ìyá wa. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ń fún wa ní àǹfààní láti kópa nínú àpérò ti sáà yìí. Inú wa sì dùn sí àwọn tó wà lórí ètò, pàápàá jùlọ alága tó ti kọ́kọ́ sọ̀rọ̀ àti gbogbo wa tá ń retí láti gbọ́. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí protocol tẹ́ ti fílẹ̀ ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ jẹ́ n tètè tẹ̀síwájú nípa iṣẹ́ yìí àti pé máa tọrọ gáfárà wípé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ tí máa sọ èdè òyìnbó ni máa fi sọ ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ foríjì mi ni ṣùgbọ́n a máa fi Yorùbá díẹ̀díẹ̀ ha bá ṣe ń bá lọ. Tọ́ni bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí àkórí tí a fún mi ní factors responsible for the wholesale security failure in Nigeria. And I will approach it from this angle. By way of introduction, I will say the rising insecurity in Nigeria has assumed a very dangerous dimension that threatens the very existence of the nation as a whole. And this situation is characterized by what some of us have already known and has been mentioned today. Going to be terrorism, ìfipájálè àti gbogbo nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ pàápàá jùlọ lókè ọya ibi tó ti ní pé over 60,000 people have been killed within the last 10 years. And many other such statistics that indicate that the situation is actually virtually out of hand, thereby qualifying for that definition of wholesale security failure. At the moment, there are at least 2.2 million people who are living in displaced people's camp in Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno State, all related to the issue of terrorism. Now, in southern Nigeria, we also note that, unfortunately, initially at the beginning, the efforts, at least up to 2015 when I retired, I know that the efforts were concentrated to ensure that among other activities of containing terrorism in the Northeast, the essence was to ensure that it does not spread to the south, to the southern part of the country as intended by the terrorists. However, today we can no longer say the same thing because everywhere in Nigeria has become unsafe, including even the federal capital. The criminals, the terrorists, the kidnappers, and vicious headers, I mean the headers that are referred to as Fulani headers, are all over the country, causing one mayhem or the other. And in particular this time, we note that the issue of banditry is a way of giving another definition to terrorism. But altogether, this has led to a situation where the armed forces deployed virtually all over the country. At least 2/3 of the states have military deployment, which is ordinarily abnormal. Meanwhile, the whole world has become aware that Nigeria has become so dangerous. I want to know why Nigeria now for our woman pay ojulala kan fi insure kò síbi kíbi tó that go safe for anybody. So it is very clear that the security failure has come to affect everybody. By way of the directive of this topic, I want to quickly identify some of the immediate, what I refer to as immediate factors. By the way, as I'm making this presentation, there is another fellow on this forum who is projecting the PowerPoint. Abolade Bolu Atife. This, if you want to see the PowerPoint, you can follow on that area. So by way of immediate factors, I note that the Center for Democracy and Development have identified that the northern
General, ele share screen ní pẹ̀lú PowerPoint yẹn. Sorry, I didn't read. So I think you are given the opportunity to share your screen so that I'll read PowerPoint yẹn.
Benny, sir. Mr. Boluwatife no ní access láti share PowerPoint yẹn, so they both have access, sir. You can share your screen.
Well, but my gadget here is not cooperating. That's why I adopted that approach.
Okay. All right, sir.
Okay.
All right. So the immediate factors I will identify are those that the Center for Development and Democracy, first of all, indicated that although the northern Nigeria is currently experiencing peculiar, distinct security crises, there are common challenges that are virtually all over the country. So Yoruba land cannot be said to be an exception, and is certainly not in any way exempted by the utter insecurity that everybody faces at the moment. So further to the foregoing, there was a publication recently by the same center, which declared that insecurity and state responses in Nigeria has become, national, so that it's not limited to any part thereof. So altogether, some of the immediate factors I will be pinpointing quickly. I know I have a short while for this. By the way, this topic is very vast. I'm believing that maybe when General Ayoola comes up, it will make up for some of what I may not be able to say, and some of it are even already known by those of us who are listening. So some of the immediate factors that I can identify that are associated with the current state of insecurity will include the competing group identity and nationalism. For instance, you know that in the East, they are clamoring for their own Biafra. All over the country, there's one clamor or the other. Everybody is beginning to have a new idea of what identity they want to have, particularly in the light of the situation in the country. That in itself has implication for the security situation in the country. I also have youth illiteracy and unemployment. This is very visible. Unemployment, corruption, and poverty. There's no way anybody discusses the security situation in Nigeria without making reference to these issues of poverty and corruption. Then the lack of capacity and professionalism among security agencies. This is very, very important. I would like to mention, clarify a little about that. The lack of professionalism in terms of attitude. Right now, everybody is looking for how to solve the issue of why our security agencies not performing. They have indicated lack of synergy. They have indicated bad training. I recall that at the beginning of terrorism in 2009 and thereabout, it was much of guesswork for this fact that the training that the military had was focused on dealing with external enemies. But in order to respond to that situation, they have to readjust training. That took some time to adjust to containing terrorism on a wide scale. And that in itself is an issue of capacity. Even professionalism also, it exposed a lot of inadequacies that were not there. And all of this is compounding the security situation all across the country. There is the issue of drug abuse, which is everywhere. Our borders are very porous, particularly in the north. And interestingly, we will say not much effort is being taken to contain the infiltration from the northern parts in terms of arms infiltration. When you compare the volume of effort concentrated on southern Nigeria, between Lagos and Ondo State and all those places, have multiple checkpoints, all aiming to check illegal importation or thereabout. That gives some impression of some bias. One of the things I'll be mentioning later can be responsible for this. Apart from porous borders, there's inadequate responses on the part of the state, inadequate state response to issues of security. There's also the lack of supervision and sanctions for failure. A lot of failure have been recorded, but you hardly get sanctions. And most people are referring to that at the moment. That if we are seeing this failure that leads to a train being hijacked, terrorists invading cities and on, and it's appearing as if nobody is paying dearly. No minister is paying, no service chief is paying. I mean, in terms of sanctions, people have identified as a major factor, and to some extent, we agree with them. Lack of supervision. Then the body language, I'd like to say much about this. If we relate it to what Egbe had mentioned earlier, I mean, Barrister, sorry, yes, Chief FALANA, what he mentioned earlier, in terms of the response of most of these agencies. The training of an officer, for instance, is to understand his boss, to understand the direction of his boss, and political leaders are the boss. Now, most of the responses indicate that the security personnel understand that the state is not really committed, and they want to understand the direction of the thinking of government so that they don't fall foul. If you fall foul, it has to do with your career. And not many people want to joke with their career. So they read the mind of government. They read the mind of, is the government serious about containing this? So they modify their responses in line with that body. By the way, you know that this government came in on the issue of body language. People who talk of body language now, they mean that you have to guess what we have in mind. And that is affecting the responses of the security agencies. Then there is injustice, impunity, and bad governance. Chief FALANA said much about that. I know much of it will come up subsequently. So what are the suggested solutions to this? We suggest the issue of provision of employment. We should reform the justice system, which I think most of what Chief said again has to do with that. We should punish failures. We should, and I'm assuming that most of these are targeted at the federal government. There should be a well-equipped security agencies, as Chief mentioned. The security agencies are poorly equipped, even though a lot of money has gone into it. Are they getting the appropriate equipment? Is it all getting to the services to be used? And this is the issue of corruption that we mentioned earlier. Good governance, of course, that will take care of the attitude and the response of the agencies to their duties. Our borders should be fortified, and I'm suggesting particularly that the level of bias that concentrated efforts, that concentrates the efforts of the customs and immigration on certain part of Nigeria and leave the north so wide open. Everywhere in the north is a road, and a lot of arms infiltration are coming from there that appear not to be checked. Then this one, I should emphasize it later, but it is that we need a new constitution before there is an election. A lot has been said about the structure. Maybe that agitation should continue. Well, there is what I will refer to as the remote and immediate factors on Nigeria's security situation. On that, the insight has been provided by highly placed and well-informed individuals who seem to give a more contemporary and realistic factors responsible for the abysmal security situation in the country. Several enlightened and credible people from diverse backgrounds are giving us information that an Islamic State creation is the common thread that runs through much of the bizarre incidences we are having that have been witnessing, particularly lately. Among them, by the time you listen to the quotations or you read them, you will have an idea of the factors responsible for our present security situation. For instance, Chief Obasanjo said there is a Fulanization and Islamization agenda in Nigeria and West Africa. And these are problems no longer an issue of lack of education and lack of employment of our youth in Nigeria. I think this has to be taken seriously. Is it true that there is Fulanization and Islamization drive in Nigeria? This is what is bothering so many people at the moment. So many people are all the talk, both in the beer parlor and everywhere, is bordered on what is it that this is Fulanization drive is about. All the people you find in the forest, what is their business? Another fellow who spoke, we should take, I'll just quote them. General Taiwo Danjuma said, the army is colluding with the bandits to carry out ethnic cleansing in Nigeria. If you are depending on the armed forces to defend you, you will all die one by one. That was Lieutenant General Taiwo Danjuma, my former chief of army staff, made this so clear. I can relate this to the issue of body language I mentioned earlier. So many people in services are very careful to deal decisively with this guy because they suspect they may not get the political protection and their career will be jeopardized. By training, they got to read that and understand. Another fellow spoke, this one also a retired officer, Navy Commodore Kunle Olamumi. It must have gone viral. What did he say? And this guy being a defense intelligence expert said, top-ranking officials in Aso Rock and the National Assembly are determined to have an Afghanistan and Taliban-style Islamic government in Nigeria, no matter the cost. Government is not determined to contain Boko Haram and bandits as their sponsors are in the highest places in government. Has this officer been proved wrong in any way? By the trend we are seeing right now, the one that is making it look as if the forces are too weak to contain. Gradually, we fear that the Afghanistan approach is what is being played out. Another person, Samuel Kanu Uche. This was a prelate of the Methodist Church who was kidnapped. And when he came out, hear him, he said, he was quoting those who kidnapped him and was relating what they said in the course of the kidnap. He said, we, the Fulani fighters, are in the bushes of Southwest, South-South, and South is waiting for a signal to finish the people of the South. Nigeria belongs to us, Fulanis. We will finish you people and take over your land that belongs to us. The prelate further stated, the army knows where they are and is shielding them. I wonder whether we can discard all of these ones as just not relevant. Another fellow who spoke, this one has died, late Dr. Obadiah Melafia. He said, Boko Haram and bandits are working towards a jihad to ensure Nigeria becomes an Islamic state from the year 2022. Let me make some revelations because some of us also have our own intelligence network. We have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders, one or two who have repented. They have sat down with us once, not twice. They told us one of the northern governors, the commander of the Boko Haram, has this been investigated? Has this been, contravened or renounced by, anyone highly pleased enough? Professor Zachary Kundu said, the Fulani herdsmen killing makes sense to the Fulanis as they are an attempt to grab land from the people of Nigeria for the Fulanis of the whole world. Nigeria has become presently the preferred homeland for the Fulanis. That is it. One last person I will refer to is Governor Samuel Otom. Governor Samuel Otom was still speaking as at yesterday. And this gentleman appears to be hitting the nail so directly. He's emphasizing all that have been said so far. I said he believes the government is part and parcel of the part and parcel of the whole drive. As we speak, there's so much displaced people in Benue, in Plateau, in Kaduna State. All of them with a view to taking over the land of these people. Governor Tom went as far as saying, not only has he formed an internal security agency in the spirit of Amotekun, but that he's going to apply to the federal government and has applied to have AK-47 and all the assault rifles for them. Let's wait and see how that will be. I think Chief FALANA has already given us an insight to the thinking of government in this area. Let me quickly conclude. The reality is here. And if I must suggest to the people of Southwest, our Yoruba people, we must make sure that we don't get to a level that we have the volume of displaced people we have in Benue, in Plateau, in Kaduna. And that is the situation that confronts us at the moment. The rate of kidnapping, the rate of herdsmen, I don't want to even call the herdsmen, the Fulani herdsmen attack, and the whole forest in Southwest have been taken over. What are we doing about it? What we are experiencing is more akin to an invasion and a siege against our communities than mere clashes. And I think we should be modifying our language people to understand the issue. The difference between war or whatever, or even insecurity. What we are facing in Nigeria and now the Southwest is an invasion. I define it in two ways: an invasion and a siege. Every city in Nigeria is under a siege. You can't travel. You risk being kidnapped, you risk being killed. That is a siege. We are facing an invasion of well-trained mercenaries working for terrorist outfits. This is a real danger that we cannot ignore. Gbogbo eléyìí dẹ̀ là ń rí gẹ́gẹ́ bí olóyè Femi FALANA ṣe sọ, àwọn olórí wa ò lè panumọ́ sílẹ̀ kán máa retí security agencies láti handle ẹ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ yìí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. There is a lot of knowledge that we can get from our service personnel, both in service and out. But what we have observed generally is that the political leadership and the elite, they are still operating in the old to believe that don't associate with these guys. There is a lot of information we can get to protect and defend our people. And we find that most of the governors would rather have you as a member of their political party if they will take you seriously. Otherwise, they don't believe that you have anything to offer if you are not a member of their party. And this in itself is a way denying the people of the input of these people who are meant to be available to us. Furthermore, Yoruba politicians and leaders should mobilize their people to one, champion and insist and demand that the federal government and President Buhari takes responsibility for the current state of insecurity in the entire federation. He must take responsibility. Nobody has heard anything from this man. Most of what you hear is from all those ones. We want to hear from him, and I think Professor Shoyinka said that much. He has not been taken seriously, but that is really a major solution. Number two, step up advocacy and agitation to demand that the federal government and President Buhari must come clean of all allegations bordering on apparent drive for jihad and the Fulanization that is running across the whole federation. Number three, demand the immediate cleanup of all forests in Yoruba land to get rid of all mercenaries that are hibernating there in the name of headers immediately. And this should be immediate because it's getting late, rather too late. And whatever could be done to do this should please be stepped up. And I think this is more political than to expect this from the federal government. Number four, resist vehemently the water bill and all so-called constitutional amendments calling for settlers to become indigenous in Yoruba land. That is another dangerous dimension. They want to come through the law. It must be resisted politically and by all forms of agitation. I want to call on those of us in diaspora. I think it's time we begin to get the international community more interested in the issues going on in Nigeria. The issues in Nigeria are more than what could be handled locally. Yes, they may not be interested, but let there be at least a lot of, I know that at the beginning of Boko Haram, a lot of Northern intelligentsia were all over Europe, all over America, to convince them that what was going on in Nigeria was a genocide against the North, which was not true. But they got their attention. I want to end shortly. They got their attention, nevertheless. And at the end of the day, there was virtually an arms embargo on Nigeria. This is what involvement of people in terms of advocacy overseas can achieve for us, and I strongly advocate it. Finally, we should ensure the implementation of the Amotekun initiative, as well as the development of Western Nigeria agenda. That's done. Development agenda for Western Nigeria. Let it be taken to the next level and accelerated. You will see that most of what I've said is targeting mainly at political leadership and the elite. Please, this is the much we can make as a matter of conclusion. I think that my senior colleague who will be speaking later may be more precise on some of these issues. Thank you for this privilege. Ẹ ṣé o, mo dúpẹ́ o, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ foríjì mi fún gbogbo Gẹ̀ẹ́sì tá à ń sọ. Ó sì ẹ káàsán, ẹ káalẹ́, ẹ kú ìgbà. A dúpẹ́. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Ẹ ṣeun gan ni sir. Ẹ ṣeun, a dúpẹ́. Àwa náà mọ̀ pé tí ẹ bá máa fi gbọ́ ohùn yín, ẹ máa sọ fún wa, ó máa tàn mọ́lẹ̀ sí ọ̀rọ̀ nípa ètò jẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò yìí. Ẹ ṣé gan ni, gbogbo bí tẹ́ mẹ́nubà, gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ni náà tí láti mọ̀ adẹ̀ ti kọ sílẹ̀. Pé gẹ́gẹ́ bá ṣe sọ, àpérò kò kì í ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ sísọ lásán. Àwọn nǹkan tá a bá sọ ń bí, a máa back it up. We're going to put teeth to whatever we talk about. bá ṣe máa ń ṣe àpérò yìí ni pé a máa ń jẹ́ kó wà interactive. So gbogbo wa náà tá bá ní ìbéèrè, tá bá ní ohun láti fi kún, tó bá dé àsìkò yẹn, à fún yín láyè láti sọ. Àrípá àwọn tí nǹkan oríṣiríṣi wọlé. Ní àsìkò yìí, tá bá máa fi fẹ́ parí ètò, à ṣe summary àwọn presentation tí àwọn èèyàn wa tí wọ́n bá wa sọ. Torí pé àmọ́ pé àwọn kan ń ṣe ń join wa. So àwọn tó bá fẹ́ láti join wa, à lè jẹ́ kí ibi tá a dé àti àwọn tá a ti sọ, à lè jẹ́ kí wọ́n nípa ẹ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, mo fẹ́ béèrè ṣé Dr. Taiwo ti wà pẹ̀lú wa? Dr. Victor Taiwo ṣé wà ń bẹ̀ sà? Dr. Victor Taiwo ti bá wà ń bẹ̀, ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀, ẹ jọ̀ọ́.
Ẹsẹ̀ wà ní chat sir.
káàárọ̀ tó tó ń pè ètò míì kó wá wòran láti ọwọ́ ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá North America. Àpérò ló fún wa nírètí wípé ìran Yorùbá ti sáré dópin aré, wọ́n ti nàgà, ọwọ́ wọn ti dókè, ọmọ aládé ti gbẹ́lẹ̀, kànga wọn ti kunmi ayọ̀.
Ìlọsíwájú àwa ọmọ Yorùbá ká tún padà sáyé tó yẹ ọmọ Odùduwà ká tún lè rówó náà iṣẹ́ pọ̀ lóde káyéyé o ká má má dínkù.
Òkè òkè lẹ́mú ń ru sí yọ̀, òkè nìran Yorùbá máa lọ, a ò ní dẹ̀rù ẹ̀yìn mọ́ láéláé. Ìran Yorùbá ti ń ṣètò, a ò rírú èyí rí o. Tọmọdé tàgbà tọkùnrin tóbìnrin ló péjú pésẹ̀ síbi ìpàdé àpérò ọlọ́sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti ọjọ́ 11 oṣù kẹfà tí ó sì parí lọ́jọ́ 13 oṣù kẹjọ ọdún 2022. Bí ọjọ́ ṣe ń gorí ọjọ́, lèrò ń pọ̀ sí nínú àpérò. Ẹni tí ó pẹ́ gàfín ni ó sọ pé òun ò róòṣà. Àpérò ti kọjá wà ń fẹnu ròyìn. Kódà ó ti dorin tí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá ń kọ nílé lóko. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ìbéèrè táwọn ọmọ Yorùbá kò rí ìdáhùn sí lọ́jọ́ tó ti pẹ́ ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tí fèsì sí nínú ìpàdé àpérò tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá sì ní ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ fún ọjọ́ iwájú rere èyí tí ó sọ̀kalẹ̀ sílẹ̀ Oòduà láìpẹ́. Àpérò táwọn ètò tó kù yọ nípa ṣíṣàkójọpọ̀ gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ tó wà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá nínú ìṣọ̀kan fún àtúnbí àti ìsọdọ̀tun ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ní kété tí a bá ti parí àpérò orí ayélujára, látún tẹ́pẹ́pẹ́ àpérò ojúkojú tí ó wáyé nílẹ̀ Yorùbá láìpẹ́. Ìpele 3 la pín àpérò sí: ìgbé ayé ìrọ̀rùn fún ọmọ Yorùbá láàrin ọdún 1952 sí ọdún 1966 àti ṣèyẹn kọjá. Ìgbé ayé kòkòrò ajẹnirun ọdún 1966 títí dòní, èyí náà ti di àfihẹ́yìn aṣọ igun àláre, kíkọjú síwájú pẹ̀lú ìrètí àti láìsí ìbẹ̀rù kankan. Ìyẹn nípele 3 tí a wà báyìí. Ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn kọ́ rèé, bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni kì í sọ̀rọ̀ òṣèlú. Ọ̀rọ̀ lọ síwájú ìran Yorùbá òun náà ni o. Àwọn tó ti kópa ló lè ròyìn. Ẹ darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lọ́jọ́ Sátidé lórí ayélujára Zoom ní dédé agogo 11 òwúrọ̀ 11 a.m. EST àti agogo 4 ọ̀sán orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àti Gẹ̀ẹ́sì 4 p.m. GMT. Ọba Adédòkun Abọ́lárìn orí adé àpérò, ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Ṣẹ́gun Gbádégẹṣin alága àgbìmọ̀ àpérò, amòfin àgbà Femi FALANA alága àpérò. Àwọn tí ó bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lọ́jọ́ náà ni ajagunfẹ̀yìntì Major General Henry Ayoola, ajagunfẹ̀yìntì Major General Chris Olukolade, ọ̀mọ̀wé Victor Taiwo, Honorable Bukọla Oreọfẹ ni ó darí ètò lọ́jọ́ náà. Onímọ̀ ìṣègùn dúróde ayé Òdìmáyọ̀ Akíndìtìlì, ààrẹ ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá North America, olùkéde ìgbà tó ti dé nílẹ̀ Oòduà, gbogbo ọmọ aládìẹ máa yọ̀, ìrọ̀rùn dé. Oòduà gbè wá o, àṣẹ.
Agajù wọn lọ. Ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìjọyà.
Ẹ ṣeun, a dúpẹ́. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ṣé Dr. Victor Taiwo ti wà pẹ̀lú wa? Àǹtí wọn bá tí ì sí pẹ̀lú wa, á jẹ́ pé a máa lọ sí ẹnì kẹta tó kù. A nígbàgbọ́ pé ká tó parí yẹn wọ́n á wà. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí gbogbo wa ṣe mọ̀, ètò àpérò yìí ó jẹ́ ibi tí ẹ̀dùn ọkàn wa wà láti rí pé ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní orílẹ̀-èdè wa ilẹ̀ Yorùbá pé à ń láti wá solution sí. Ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá ti North America ló ṣe agbátẹrù ètò náà. Gẹ́gẹ́ bá ṣe sọ, ìgbìmọ̀ àpérò, a ní àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n bá wa fi ọpọlọ fi bá wa jẹ́ kí ètò náà kó máa lọ. A ní ọ̀mọ̀wé Professor Gbádégẹṣin àti àwọn ọmọ ìgbìmọ̀ wọn. Bí ètò yìí ṣe ń lọ náà ni a rí pé àwọn olùdarí ẹgbẹ́ yìí tó jẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ààrẹ sẹ́yìn wọ́n ti ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. A sì ń kí yín. Mo rí àwọn bàbá wa Adéọlá Odùsànyà, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí. Mo rí àwọn Dr. Olúọtúbùsì, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí. Mo rí Alhaji Lasisi Muhammed, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò yìí. Láti fi kún, Professor Ṣẹ́gun Gbádégẹṣin náà, àwọn náà jẹ́ former president ẹgbẹ́ yìí. Ní àkókò yìí, a tẹ̀síwájú láti pe àwọn bàbá wa ajagun fẹ̀yìntì láti túbọ̀ tan ìmọ́lẹ̀ sí ọ̀rọ̀ tá à ń sọ nípa yìí, ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò. Kò sí bí orílẹ̀-èdè ṣe lè wà rí tó lè wà sí, kí ọ̀nà wà, kí títì wà, tí ò bá ti sí ààbò, gbogbo ẹ̀ ti já sí ònìyàn. Àpérò yìí, òun ni platform táwa máa fi ronú láti ṣe ohun tó tọ́, láti rí pé ààbò tó yẹ ó wà fún àwọn èèyàn wa. Màá wá pe àwọn bàbá wa láti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí.
Moderator sir, a point of correction sir. Dr. Taiwo láwọn wà ń bí, so he's going to unmute nísìnyí. Ẹ fún wọn ní ìṣẹ́jú kan.
Okay.
Ẹ ṣé.
Yeah, thank you for the information.
Enjoy type that you are here. Sorry, chat sir. Kí n lè put yín up sir.
Tí Dr. Taiwo bá ti ready, ẹ jẹ́ kí general bẹ̀rẹ̀ tiwọn so that we will get to him, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Because of time.
Ẹ ṣeun. So, a máa pe àwọn bàbá wa ajagun fẹ̀yìntì Major General Henry Ayoola láti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ohun tí a pè àkọlé rẹ̀ ní Rural Overview of the State of the Nation and the Way Forward. Láti introduce àwọn bàbá wa náà, màá ka profile wọn ní ráńpẹ́ fún wa. Major General Henry Idowu Omolaja Ayoola, retired, is a seasoned and well-decorated military officer who retired after about 38 years of imperial service. He belongs to the elite corps, the Nigerian Army Signal. He is a fellow of the prestigious National War College, now National Defense College, and member of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. General Ayoola brings to the table a convergence of skills set based on a multidisciplinary background and expertise with 3 master's degrees in electronic and electrical engineering, strategic studies, and international law and diplomacy. He was twice director, Armed Forces Simulation Center. He was involved in designing, planning, and executing war and disaster games. As Commander Special Task Force Operation Safe Haven, covering Plateau 2 and parts of Bauchi and Kaduna states, he was instrumental to restoring order and peace. In this capacity, he combated various security challenges, including cattle rustling, Fulani militia, herdsmen, farmers' clashes, gangsterism, substance abuses. More importantly, under his leadership, the threat of terrorism and insurgency by Boko Haram was decisively deterred. His last appointment was the Chief of Defense Research and Development at the Defense Conference. In his office, he provides solutions to contemporary and emerging national security challenges. In retirement, he's engaged in mentoring, leadership training, social services, and empowering the next generation. Eshegoni Lakokoyi, Okonsi Major General Henry Ayoola, an overview of the state of the nation and the way forward.
Ṣeun púpọ̀ sà. Ṣé mo lè share screen mi nísìn?
Yes, sir. You can, sir.
Ṣé ẹ ti rí sà? Ṣé ó ti show?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó ti show, sir.
Ok, ẹ ṣeun púpọ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ gan-an ni, inú mi dùn lọ́pọ̀. Ó yẹ pè mí sórí ètò báyìí. Àtìgbà tí fẹ̀yìntì níṣẹ́ ológun, ọ̀rọ̀ nǹkan tó ń lọ nílùú wa náà ni mo ti kó sí láti ìgbà náà. And mo ti rìn kiri gbogbo oríṣiríṣi ẹgbẹ́ tó ń wá bá ṣe máa rí solution sọ̀rọ̀ ìlú yìí pátá ni mo àfẹ́yí tí mi bá tí ìbọn ń pa ẹ̀ tí mo fi pé bóyá mo lè bá wọn ṣiṣẹ́ ká lè rí solution sọ̀rọ̀ náà. And kí n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí give lecture tẹ fún mi, inú mi dùn gan pé ẹgbẹ́ yìí wà. Kò bá ti wù mí gan pé kí n ti mọ̀ ń pa yín tipẹ́tipẹ́ kí n ti darapọ̀ mọ́ iṣẹ́ ibi tẹ́ ń ṣe yìí because iṣẹ́ ńlá gan ni. Nǹkan kan tó ti wà lọ́kàn mi ni pé Yorùbá gbọ́dọ̀ ní strategic think tank tó máa plan ahead fún gbogbo ọmọ Oòduà. Ìyẹn wà lára kankan tó ta lack right now. Gọ́gọ́ bí brother mi Chris Olukolade ṣe sọ ẹjọ ẹfẹ mi náà ní gáfárà yẹn. Ẹ̀rọ pa wà dẹ́ pé ìlú Haúsá láti dàgbà ká tó join army Yorùbá wa ògbóná lọ títí. So ẹ bá mi ṣe gáfárà yẹn fún mi àfi ṣakọ àtọ̀ lọ. But màá máa try ṣá, ó dùn mọ́ mi pé àwọn èèyàn tèmi ni mò ń bá sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí. Tó tí gbogbo adẹ̀ tó ká wa lára pé a gbọ́dọ̀ wá solution sọ̀rọ̀ lórí. So ẹ jọ̀ọ́ mo bẹ̀ yín gbogbo àwọn bàbá wa gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀gbọ́n wa ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ gbà mí ní àyè yẹn. So nǹkan tí mò ń sọ kí n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá strategic think tank táwa non-partisan táwa dedicated to short, medium and long plan for Yoruba people. But bí gbogbo wa ṣe ti sọ Yorùbá Ọlọ́run dá wa yàtọ̀, Ọlọ́run dẹ̀ fún wa lẹ́bùn oríṣiríṣi. Àbẹ́ ni pé ibi tá a wà yìí ó ká wa kù ní láti ọdún yìí. Ibi tí Yorùbá nation bá ti dé by now, Ọlọ́run nìkan ló mọ̀. So ìyẹn ni mo kàn fẹ́ sọ kí n tó bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ẹ ṣeun lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. So mo fẹ́ follow slides mi. And of course, since it's written in English, please permit me to just go along with it. Màá fi Yorùbá díẹ̀ ha. Especially àwọn ibi tí mi Yorùbá fẹ́ káwọn tí òǹṣà wa gbọ́, màá fi ha bẹ́yẹn. Àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tí brother mi Chris, èmi àti Chris àtijọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní military school ní so àti mọ̀ra wa fún almost 50 years. And it's my very dear close brother. So gbogbo nǹkan tó sọ pátá ni mo fọwọ́ sí. In fact, ó ti sọ gbogbo àwọn tó ti sọ̀rọ̀ nǹkan tó jẹ́ nǹkan tó ń dà wá láàmú nílùú yìí. Tí èèyàn bí ọ̀gágun T.Y. Danjuma, bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ fún rẹ̀, èyí tí Mèláfíà sọ, èyí tí Kánú sọ, gbogbo èyí táwọn nínàsí náà ń sọ, Dr. Tony Nadi, gbogbo kínní àwọn yẹn ló yẹ ká kó pọ̀, gbogbo ẹ̀ ló nídìí. Àwọn kankan wà tẹ́mi gan ní lè sọ nínú open forum báyìí. Èmi gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tí mo ti bá àwọn èèyàn wọ̀nyí jà rí nígbà tí mo jẹ́ commander Operation Safe Haven. Kìíní yóò ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀, ó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ti pẹ́. Ìgbà tí mo fi jẹ́ Operation Safe Haven commander yẹn 2012 2013 là ń sọ. Àwọn tó wà ń bẹ̀ ní ìjọba ń sìn lé ẹ̀ gangan tí ìdébẹ̀ ìyẹn gan á jẹ́ ká máa ronú pé so àwọn wo gan ló wà lẹ́yìn kìíní. Wọ́n tá a bá limit ẹ̀ sí pé àwọn ìjọba tó wà ń bẹ̀ sí ló dálẹ̀ ó mì pé kò tí ì yé wa ló ń jẹ́ bẹ̀. Kìíní tí ó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ káwọn gan tó débẹ̀ nǹkan di yàtọ̀ ní pé ìsìn tó jẹ́ bẹ̀ tó yẹ pé ìgbọ̀n wọn ló wà ń bẹ̀. Wọ́n wá ń ṣe with recklessness and reckless abandon and audacity fuel of course by our own docility and timidity all the while. But even nínú plan táwọn gan ní ó ní nǹkan tó ń respect pé ká ṣe ká dánwò ká tẹ̀ resist wọn díẹ̀ tá kàn ń wò wọ́n ṣá yẹn gan jẹ́ kán ní confidence sí láti wo nǹkan tó ń ṣe. So gbogbo yẹn wà nú ẹ̀. So ẹ jẹ́ kí n follow slide mi. Ẹ ṣeun lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀. Wọ́n sọ fún mi pé 45 minutes ni mo ní mo fẹ́ mọ̀ bóyá mo ì ní yẹn so that màá lè set time mi.
Ó kù 40 minutes, sir.
Ó kù 40, okay. All right. I'll keep to the time. Ẹ ṣeun. All right, so I'll go on. Well, the title of what I was giving is the topic, State of the Nation and Way Forward. Okay. And the sub-theme, which I keyed into, is engaging the future and its challenges and promises with hope. This other thing is covering my screen. I think I have to get rid of it. The portion of the Zoom. Okay, let me just minimize that. All right, thank you. All right, so I can see my full screen now. All right, so I'll go on from there. as a way of introduction, it is self-evident that Nigeria is a carefully crafted, painstakingly packaged, and divinely delineated nation for a great purpose. There's a plethora of promises, prophecies, and visions on Nigeria from a variety of God's servants, both at home and abroad. Of course, you know, I need to pause there and to say that even our forefathers, our late sage, about Ayoola and his contemporaries, this was what they referred to as the manifest destiny. Okay, I'm just putting it in another language, the manifest destiny. And one of such, you know, promises and prophecies is what we find by Sidney Granville Elton, for short, in 1986, when he said, and I quote, "Nigeria and Nigerians will be known for corruption worldwide, but the tide will turn, and Nigeria will also be known for righteousness worldwide. Many shall take hold of him that is a Nigerian, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you." Now, that's a very powerful prophecy, and it's been a driving force for many of us. And that is why some of us have not given up on Nigeria, knowing that there is a manifest destiny for greatness for this nation. And that for me, one of the things that are driving me, that what we are going through is actually a transition crisis. And we are getting to the tipping point where we must break through and a new Nigeria will emerge. Okay, next. Deriving from a convergence of these divine revelations and sublime truths of the scriptures, God's four-pronged purpose for Nigeria can be summarized as follows. 1, to emancipate and emerge as the consolation and pride of Africa and the Black race at large. 2, to shine as a lighthouse of God to the uttermost parts of the earth. 3, to be greatly fruitful in advancing the kingdom of God globally, effectively, as one of the end time sickles for the end time harvest. And lastly, to exploit its natural resources and create stupendous wealth for the common good, and especially her agricultural endowment, thus manifesting as a global food basket. I'm sure many of us will agree with all of this, that we have the capacity, the potential, the divine endowment to fulfill all of these purposes. Now, so I'm going to just focus on 3 main things as my scope. The state of the country, I deliberately used country, they are not nation. I will explain that later when I get there. Way forward, that's crafting a new Nigeria, and then a particular emphasis on restructuring Nigeria, which I'm also glad that both the chairman and others who have spoken before me have touched on, because anything short of that is like we've been dancing around the same issues for several generations. All right, next. So let's start with the state of the country. Again, I say state of the country rather than state of the nation, because there's an outstanding issue of the fundamentals of nationhood staring us at the face, because they've not been decisively tackled. And that's why some of the issues, like my brother Chris said, some of the reasons given for, why some of the, so-called security challenges, but again, that's another deliberate disinformation, calling it security challenges, because the real issue is political. And I got that experience in my assignment on the platform. When I got there, I also saw it as security challenges. But as I began to make all the efforts to solve them, it became very clear that they were not security challenges, they were political challenges. And and the adversary on the other side is so unrelenting and will not give up, no matter the efforts made to find solutions. So for me, we are still a multinational country, a multinational entity. Of course, we know that I mean, somebody has done some more research. Before, we used to say Nigeria is about 250 ethnic groups, but we are counting over 600 ethnic groups in Nigeria now, okay? And of course, there had not been any deliberate efforts by all past leaders, consensus effort, to find a set of shared core values that will be the foundational and fundamental principles for nationhood. Those, that set of shared core values that the man in Sokoto can relate with, the man in Zamfara, the man in Lagos, the man in Porako, the man in Yola can agree, even though I mean, we have so many differences, but at least there's that set of values that we can agree upon, that will be willing to safeguard and even willing to go to war to defend. That's how nations are crafted. That crafting, deliberate crafting with a vision that is shared by all members has not been done. And that keeps haunting us. Okay, so I want to go on from there to talk about the different parts of this state of the nation. Sorry, there's something covering my slides, so trying to get rid of it. On my own screen is the toolbar at the top of my screen. Sorry. All right, I will just manage.
You can move it to the side, sir.
Come again, sir.
You can move it to the side. You can move the toolbar to the side.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Or even to the bottom. Oh, okay. Still. Long that the side is not taking it. Okay.
General, we are seeing your screen very well.
You are seeing it, but I think it's from my own device. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Judging from the sovereign purposes that we have mentioned about and the determined counsel and divine destiny of the country, there's a strong promise for greatness. Unfortunately, Nigeria has not been blessed with a strong and visionary leadership team. Please note team, not just leadership team, to chart and champion this cause. Instead, we have been sliding in what appears to be a free fall in the opposite direction to an all-round and all-time low. Simply put, Nigeria has never been so divided on the ethno-religious fault lines since amalgamation as it is today. Contemporary times are acutely challenging and the stakes are higher than ever before. Nigeria is at a crossroad, a critical point and a watershed, a decisive and indeed a redefining moment. Okay, perhaps the most critical index of the state of the nation, I refer to nation now, is security. I haven't explained what I mean by country, okay? Nigeria's security environment has been characterized by perennial security challenges, improperly so-called, centered apparently around ethno-religious issues. It has been a perpetual orgy of violence and a vicious cycle of bloodletting. The issues are as complex as they are intricate, seemingly intractable, but when factually diagnosed and critically analyzed, will lend themselves to pragmatic solutions. Simply put, the Nigerian situation is precipitated by a hydra-headed, shape-shifting, ethnic supremacist ideology, which is, something is covering my screen, which is clothed in religious garb with terror as its primary instrument of expression. Okay, now I remember this joke when we used to be in University of Ife. Somebody put something on the signboard in my department of elect and said Jesus is the answer, and somebody put under it, what was the question? Now that just to emphasize the importance of defining a problem in order to find solution to it. Examining the past sometimes to peep into the future, analyzing the state of the nation in order to understand the issues. And that need to diagnose, discern, define, and dimension the problem or the so-called challenge as accurately as the availability of intelligence that we have. The truth is that nobody has all the information, nobody has all the intelligence, nobody has all the facts. And so I'm going to be speaking to you from the premise of where I have been, what I have seen from childhood, from Kaduna to Zaria, back to Kaduna, 6 times in Jaji, and on course and serving, 2 times in Jos, covering the whole of the Northeast, up the way to Baga, and working in the midst of the perpetrators of this evil. I can speak with some modicum of authority in some of it, but of course, it's like the jigsaw puzzle. We just have some pieces. When we put the pieces together, we get a bigger picture. But I'm always very open to additional information from others, from their own different experiences, so that way we can then together brainstorm to find solutions. So there's requirement also for, of course, any problem solving approach that exists in the world always require, first of all, a statement of the problem. So that's the way we're going to look at it. And then from there, we can then begin to have strategic solution, and then the policy process to implement them can then follow. So let's look at the security challenges, or what, again, like I said, political problem, which is, properly what it is. Nothing is circumstantial or accidental or incidental about the situation in Nigeria right now. Like I said, I agree with my brother Chris. All of those reasons for the security challenges we are facing, there are alternative explanations to the problem. Okay, because the truth is, the problem, yes, is multidimensional, multi-pronged, multi-tracked, and so many things you can say, but we know there are the critical issues. Okay, there will be some peripheral ones, but the core issues, and I'm going to be focusing on those. Okay, so I said, like my brother also said, that we have, it's self-evident that we are under siege, we're enclosed, we're encircled, we're enveloped already. I've been saying this for the last 5 years, that Nigeria has been in a state of war in the last 5 years. Unfortunately, this war has been one-sided, because the other side, the other belligerents are not even aware that they're in a state of war. And this war is on all fronts, including economic. Okay, so if we understand it at a start from that point, then we'll be making good progress. I mentioned the issue of the Boko Haram and ISWAP, Islamic State West African Province. By the way, the difference between the two of them is that the Islamic State West African Province, one of the factions of Boko Haram that broke away from the mainstream Al-Banawi faction that was led by Shekau, which was, of course, the ISWAP then was led by the son of Mohammed Yusuf, if you recall. That was the original leader that was killed, that led to the actual breakout of Boko Haram from the Pacific way they were doing before to becoming belligerent, okay? That's just trying to differentiate between Boko Haram and ISWAP. And the only good thing that you can say about ISWAP over Boko Haram is that they are more friendly to the locality that they capture, unlike the Boko Haram. That was actually the basis of the breakup. Because the third faction of Boko Haram is the Ansaru, which is actually the Fulani faction. Okay, that much to say about that. Because there's a Grand Takia, which is actually what characterizes this government. You can hardly believe anything that they say to you, because everything is deception and deceit and surreptitious and connivances and conspiracies. That's what characterizes this government, and that's the situation. So all of those elements are the different groups that are involved in the insurgency, the terrorism, the banditry. I just thought I should bring them out. We won't have enough time to talk about each one of them, but I think we should have a list so that maybe during the interactive session, we can have the opportunity of touching on them based on questions. Now, I also want to make this very clear, that there's a deliberate looting and pillaging of the nation going on. Have you thought of any government anywhere, knowing that oil is our mainstay, the major revenue, any commodity that we have, and yet we are told that over 80% of our oil is being stolen? Central Bank has complained about the dwindling remission to it by NNPC, and yet the government says nothing about that. Then you can conclude that there's a deliberate looting and pillaging of the nation. Now, I can leave it to your guess what the implications of that are. Okay, now okay, I talked about two thrones. I won't be able to talk about that in this forum, but let's move on to the next one. Now, the banditry, there are 5 components of them. Again, if time permits, we can talk about that. But one point to make, the major component that is giving the nation the greatest problem is the invited Pure, Boreros, and Fula militias that have been inserted into our forests, into our villages, driven off our farmers from their farms, raping our women on the farm, killing and taking land forcefully, clandestinely, and as deploying all the means at their disposal to enforce an agenda that we seem not to have aligned ourselves properly with. Okay, so we have that. That's a major one. out of the 5 components of the bandit. And of course, they extended their frontiers from the northeast surreptitiously under the banditry cover. And we saw that signature first at the kidnapping of the student in the science school in Kankara. That was about 2 years ago. And I began to raise that alarm since then. That look, these people have expanded their frontier beyond the northeast. And under that cover, they are already everywhere in the south. Okay. Now, the issues of the attacks of NDA, the Abuja Kaduna Road train and airports attack, and why Kaduna, with all the the military installations around there. Then of course there was also about that same time of the Kaduna train attack, there was the attack in Wasi and Kanam. Then of course, which I say is resource based. Then there was the upsurge of illegal bunkering, which of course explains what I say about the dwindling revenue of oil. And then the attack of the Catholic Church in Owo. Then the continued abductions and kidnappings here and there. I mean, they've never really abated, even after the Owo attack. And then of course the attack of the Kuje Correctional Center. Now, I don't want to dwell on this, singular incidents, because I mean that would take the whole day, but there are certain denominators and certain lessons and implications that we can draw from them. And of course, the latest one, which was the attack on the troops of the 7th Guards Battalion, and that had made people now to be weary to come to Abuja, But one or two things I'll just say about them, putting them all together, all right, which I call the implications. One, I've talked about the deliberate looting and pillaging of the nation. Of course, one point that comes very clear with all of these incidents and the paltry, if not near total lack of resistance from government, or even taking any decisive step to deal, defeat, and decimate these actors, these non-state actors. What it will mean then is that the lives of these people matter more than the lives of the rest of us. The lives of these adversarial elements matter more than the rest of us. It also means that there is an utter insensitivity and inaction that speaks volume. I mean, the implications of that are endless. Then it also, when you listen to the reaction of the governor of Kaduna State during those incidents and the other socio-cultural groups in the North, the Arewa Consultative Forum, the Northern Elders Forum, they will tell you a whole lot. That there is some, of course, sometimes all the time, really, not sometimes, what you allow, you cannot change. Let's even assume that you are not the perpetrator of an issue, of a problem, but your allowing in, your tolerance is an indication of several implications, okay? So then, of course, the issue of Kaduna dry port. I don't know, for our brothers, I'm sure Kaduna dry port. Suddenly the importance of having a dry port in Kaduna they were there. Our questions are going to be around. Last year, October, the Turkish president who was in Nigeria. Shortly after that, the Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, came from America, and then Nigeria was removed from among the countries of particular concern. Lobbying in America, lobbying senators and congressmen and all of that. And within the short time that Ambassador Sam Brambach, who was the last ambassador at large of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, left. Quickly, the gap before the new man, who is Rashad Hussain, who is an Indian American, who is now the current ambassador at large. I will invite those of our brothers in the US to do a search on that guy and know the kind of person he is. All these are preambles that of setting the stage, that portend what is ahead for us. Then, of course, there was the visit of the International Criminal Court prosecutor. All of these, I think I should sum them up so that in our consciousness, it will help us to process some of the information we have. All right, let me move to the next slide. Then, of course, the issue of the electoral process going on towards 2023. and the questions to ask. If you look at the body languages and some of the things that have been done and the structure that have been put in place, you will ask yourself again, are we really heading for an election? And I can tell you categorically that election is at best plan C, the hierarchy of agenda. Plan C, okay? Let me leave it at that. Again, knowing the platform on which we are. Now, but the good news is this. I haven't painted that situation. Is that there are three major fatal errors that the adversary had committed. Number one, they have violated the nature and the dynamics of power, which rests on secrecy. Now, that's actually what this government brought to the fore. Like I will say categorically that most of these things that have been done since they've been doing them clandestinely, surreptitiously, and so on, in small scales. But because, of course, it's their brother that is in charge now, they see it as an opportunity to finalize the agenda within the time. And then, of course, our timidity and docility of the rest of us had also fueled their confidence to not do them recklessly and audaciously like never before. And that's why we have seen them in the quantum and the aggravated level that they've been done. Okay, so that is very clear. Then next is the fact that, okay, there is a code there. Let's just leave that because of time. The second one is that they also disobeyed the golden rule. In military parlance, in strategic cycles, you talk about never you underrate or underestimate your adversary or your enemy on the presumption that you have monopoly of strategy, stratagem, or nuisance, and that there's no balance or power or terror. That's another major error they have committed. And I'm saying this to encourage us and encourage our hearts that this situation is not helpless. I mean, it's not that bad. We can turn the tide, and thank God for a body like this who is searching for solutions. And above all, they are pushing and attempting to foist an agenda, a supremacist and totalitarian ideology that they have set for themselves, a mission that is diametrically opposed to God's sovereign purpose and determinate counsel and divine destiny for Nigeria. And that's why they're bound to fail. But that's not to say we sit down and do nothing. It is therefore an evil agenda. It's a contraption. It's a scheme that shall not stand. It will not prosper. It will not proceed any further. And it shall not come to pass, provided we do what we have to do. And lastly, I want to tell you that on the Sunday 28 July 2019, that was shortly after the last election, there was some, prophetic and prayerful action that was taken at the Eagle Square, and God sent this rainbow that showed up across the 3-arm zone with the Aso Rock behind it, and giving us an assurance that Nigeria will not go down the drain, and God's purpose and plan for Nigeria will be fulfilled. And that's why I say we are going through a transition crisis, and we will pass through it, and we will birth a new Nigeria that will be good for all Nigerians. In Jesus' name, I say that. Now, so it's not too late to salvage the situation if we act preemptively and urgently, now hitting the ground running and unveiling the adversary and dealing with the issues that have been revealed to us thus far. All right. Well, we don't have time for me to talk more about, but that just to stop at that quote by Sun Tzu, that if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory you gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Now, I think that's a dictum for us in the military, in the strategic circle, that it has always been there to help us to know how to gather intelligence and unveil any adversary or enemy you are dealing with at any time. Okay, now I have the one of the 4-pronged stratagem of the enemy here, but like I say, I want to run over to the way forward. So if you permit me, I'll just skip over this. Maybe during the time of interactive session, we'll be able to touch them. Let me just run over to way forward. Right. Okay, thank you. So let's look at the way forward within the time left. So far, As a nation, our approaches to solving national problems have been casual, simplistic, often evasive, and lacking altruism. And this underscores some of the things I skipped. Let me just take one of them to explain this. Nigeria is suffering fundamentally from a clash of civilizations, which, I mean, if I expand that's following Samuel Huntington's book, The Clash of Civilization and the Remaking of World Order. But in our situation, if I want to be more specific, I would say it's a clash of cultures, clash of identity, clash of interest, clash of ideology, clash of aspirations. The truth is that we are not on the same page at all. Apart from a few leaders from other parts of the country that have, I mean, kudos to our own Baba Obasanjo, you can't take that away from him. The most nationalistic leader this nation has seen. I mean, I can say that because I've been following this whole thing from the early 70s, and I can say that with all confidence. Apart from our founding father or our liberators, I call them, Okay, and we find that most agenda in this company, most interest in this company are anything but national. And so you find we are working at cross purposes. Some of the aspirations we have, for example, as Yoruba people, the people on the adversary side don't want any of it. One example I can bring up clearly is the issue of democracy. I lead the restructure actualization movement and the national chairman here back home. And I've been to everybody that matters to hear the argument about restructuring. But after all the efforts, what I came back with, my take home, is that, what we are striving for, democracy, fine-tuning it, talking about dividends, they are just grudgingly tolerating it. They are not interested. They are not. So we are the one making noise about democracy. They are not interested. Their own aspiration is totally different. And we cannot wish that away or just discount it and say it doesn't matter, they must follow democracy. We need to begin a new conversation, first of the elites, towards an elite consensus, which we then translate to another conversation that will lead to what kind of system we can run if we want to remain a nation that will be, respected from both sides of the divide. Now, that's a major point, and I don't want you to brush it aside. I won't have time to expand on it, but I trust the character and the capacity of my brothers and my fathers, and I know having the facts on our fingertips, we can think and brainstorm to find solutions to them. So far, we need to do better than the way we've been solving national problems. So this time has come for us to face squarely these tough issues, which we have been evading all along, sweeping them under the carpet. And that's why the things keep coming back to haunt us. Okay, let me move on from there. So I want to talk about crafting a new Nigerian nation, okay, aligning our dream with God's purpose and the things that we need to do in order to craft this new Nigerian nation. And there are fundamental things. Number one is that we must first lay a solid foundation for nationhood. Like I said, that has not been dealt with. A set of shared core values that will include equity, fairness, and justice. In my search and my pursuit of this solution, I found that Section 23 of the Nigerian Constitution talks about national ethics. And it says national ethics shall be discipline, integrity, dignity of labor, social justice, religious tolerance, self-reliance, and patriotism. Fantastic 7 values that if we all agree on that and chop it up and expand it, turn it to jingles, make plays out of it, ingrain it in the conscience of our children right from kindergarten, and make it a national creed, kind of, and becomes the declaration of principle for nationhood. Then we can begin to talk, as that we are talking of one nation, then we can talk of national interest. Number 2, second, to create, cast, and communicate a lofty vision, a Nigerian dream around which to galvanize the people. A dream that makes every Nigerian to look forward to actualizing and optimizing its potentials, notwithstanding where it comes from, what name is there, what religion it affiliates with, and all of that. Now, that's one of the things that make America tick and why people go there, because there you can work hard and become anything you You desire to become, if you can pay the price. Nobody needs to know your father or know your name or where you come from. Now, we don't have that yet. Number 3, there is a need to develop functional system of systems. One of the reasons why things don't work in Nigeria is that even where we have a semblance of system, they are only observed in the breach. We like to, even we elites, we are all guilty of it. We like to do what we like, how we like, when we like, and if we like. Even when we have systems in place, people will violate them with reckless abandon and get away with it because there are no sure, sanctions to deter people from doing those things. But if we are going to, make progress as a nation, another book that comes to mind is the book written by Achemoglu and Robinson, Why Nations Fail. And he gave an example of the Nohalis, who are part of their people in Mexico and part in the US. And those in the US are enjoying the progress and the lofty ideals that are there in the US based on the system that the US runs. And those in Mexico are enjoying a third nation life, all based on the system. They speak different language, the same language, they have the same origin and all of that. But the difference is in the system that is run by the two countries. So it's a major point. That's another issue that is for another day. Now, so this set of systems will include the structures, the strong institutions with appropriate policies, strategies, processes, procedures, routines, and checklists, and drills that cater for all Nigerians without exemption. I mean, those of you who live in America, that when you go to a place where you have anything to do, you just collect the checklist of what you need to submit. You don't need to beg anybody. The person doesn't need to like your face. If you like, say, you may not even greet him, and that doesn't stop him from giving you the service he's paid for. Now, we don't have that. You go to somewhere, instead of them giving you a checklist of what you need to fulfill, the man is making it look like he wants to do you some favor, and then something must drop. It's because we have not structured systems. Okay, so that's a major one. Then next, sorry, I think I shifted it. Then, of course, I've talked about why the nation fails. Yeah, okay, I've talked about that. Let me move on. Then the next point is that we must unveil and deal with the powers that are holding us bound so far. We must unveil the powers, the thrones, the dominions, and the human instruments that are holding us back. And we must be able to confront this monster. We have allowed them to have a field day and freedom of action for too long. That's why they have grown in audacity and confidence. We must come to a point where we must be able to confront this behemoth and say, look, this far you have come no more, never again. We must get to that point. If we don't get to that, I've never read in history of any tyrant or despot who suddenly woke up one morning and decided to change his mind and say, oh, I've dominated this people enough, let me allow them to go scot-free now. I've not read of any. Maybe there is. I will learn from our older brothers. Now, we also need to a set of statecraftsmen who will help to get all of these lists. We need all those strategic thinkers and actors with immense capacity for critical thinking and analysis. Well, I mean, everybody is gifted differently. The truth is that we are all gifted in different measure and different kinds. And part of the problem of Nigeria is putting square peg in round holes. We have even made it look like there are no job requirements for any public office. Anybody can be anything. You can, once you can lobby your way through, you can be posted to an assignment, you know next to nothing of what to do there. And because nobody is asking you for performance anyway, at the end of the day, in fact, the person posting you there is posting you there to settle you. So you are just going there to line up your pocket. So nobody is under pressure to perform. Okay, and that's the kind of system we have put in place. Lastly, there, let me just jump to the genuine gifted and prepared sacrificial, selfless, and visionary leadership teams that I talked about the leadership team earlier. We need to also make, and I know the Yorubas have made effort, but I've heard about the Yoruba Academy. I've heard about some of the things that have been put in place before. We need to dust them up and make them very effective, where we can have a next generation milling and grooming of leaders in all areas of life, not just political, so that the Yoruba leading edge can be maintained and even can become dominant. Now, with the way it is now, without the Yoruba think tank, without anybody really, thinking for us and strategizing to maintain that edge, we need to do something about that. Now, my time is running out. Let me move on from there. I've talked about
You have one more minute, sir.
Oh, 1 more minute. I thought you said I had 40 minutes that time, and my time here is showing 35 minutes gone. I have 5 by my own reckoning of time here. 4 minutes plus now. Okay, but just tell me when you want me to stop. No.
Okay, so we'll grant you that indulgence. 5 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Then, of course, the next, I have a long list there, which are some of the ones we mentioned earlier and some additional ones, just putting them all together. I'm also aware that all of these will be passed on to the Secretariat so that they can become, reference, documents for subsequent actions. Okay, then, of course, I've talked about the elite consensus, talked about the construct. Yeah, let me say a word about the construct of a Nigerian citizen. Part of the problem that has been plaguing us, because we have never had this, a construct of a Nigerian citizen that is devoid of ethnicity or religion. That somebody can say, I'm a Nigerian citizen, and you won't need to ask him, where are you from, or what religion do you affiliate with? Okay, we need to, craft that and have that construct, and then do, using National Reorientation Agency to bring about reorientation programs that will change the mindset of Nigerian people. Okay, that is also I'm going to move on from there. I have the issue of perceived power of nations as delivered by Ray Klein. We don't have time to touch on that, but one thing I just want to bring out there, if you look at that formula, the CEM, the C is the critical mass, it talks about population and territory. E is economic capacity, military capacity is the M. Now, all of that will amount to nothing because you will see that the multiplying factor, the S and W, the S represents strategic purpose, and then W, the will to pursue that national strategy. Now, that's a major point we have right now. There is no will to solve what we call problem right now, what we call security challenge right now. It's not as if our military cannot put an end to insurgency and terrorism. No, the issue is there is no way. I've said it in many ways on TV, that there's a need to quadruple the national will to fight this thing to a conclusion. Okay, I'd like to leave that at that point. And then, of course, I talked here about, the issue about the indices of statehood, that will come in line with crafting a new state, a new Nigeria. All right, let me move on from there and just say a word for the remaining minutes for the issue of restructuring. Let me just tell you what I find out. I've made the point that we are not on the same page. The people we are asking to restructure, in fact, in some circles that I went to, they see an agitation for restructuring as a fight against them. I mean, that in reality, they see it as you are trying to take food from their mouth. Okay, and that's because we're not on the same page. That the system is not working doesn't bother them. They just care. What you want to be is to be in charge. Even if the nation is crumbling, they want to be the ones supervising the crumbling. That's the mindset. Okay? So we on this side, we need to understand what we are dealing with. Even we'll be preferring solutions that are not practical, that are not applicable in our setting. Okay, so we did all of this while preferring certain levels of, okay, the most important aspect is the issue of subnational policing. And one of the reasons why they have not allowed it, if they allow subnational policing, that will end their agenda. Don't you understand? That will be the end of their agenda. The reason why the agenda has moved this far is because there's no subnational policing. They have all the reins of power. They have the yam and they have the knife. To allow subnational policing will be that they've given up their agenda, which they are not willing to do yet. So the ball is in our court now to force that change, because we're not going to wait for it. All right, I think with that, I will come to the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all very much for listening, hoping that during the interactive sessions, then we have opportunity to expand on some of these discussion. Thank you very much. Let me just round up with that sentence. It's not too late to survey the situation if we act preemptively and urgently. The way forward is simply and squarely a honest, urgent, and passionate pursuit of a holistic restructure of Nigeria. Call it a revisitation to the fundamentals, call it reorganization, call it a rejig or a devolution of power, responsibilities, and resources, or any other fancy name that you like. But without that, we may not move forward as a nation. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Wow. Ẹ ṣé gan-an ni sir. Ẹ̀yin bàbá wa fún àwọn ohun tẹ́ bá wa sọ. Bí ẹ ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ tí mò ń gbọ́ yín, I almost felt like I was in a PhD or postgraduate, class. What the professor to one articulate views tó dẹ̀ ń bá wa mú lọ́nà oríṣiríṣi ó lè fi yé wa. And nǹkan kan tó tún sọ sí mi lọ́kàn ni pé mo ṣe gbọ́ yín tí mo tún gbọ́ àwọn Major General wa náà, Chris Olukolade. Mo wá ń rò wípé clearly ó ní nǹkan kan tí ó jẹ́ kí Nàìjíríà kó máa progress. I think the best amongst us gan wọn fún ní àyè kan really occupy position kan wọ́n lè turn things around. Àwọn èèyàn bíi tí a mọ̀ pé ní distinguished careers, but àwa tún lérò wípé ó tún ní àwọn ibi tó yẹ kẹ́ tún dé in terms of position tó yẹ pé àwọn views tẹ́ ní àti àwọn opinions tẹ́ espouse yìí á lè jẹ́ kí nǹkan dá fún orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà àti fún àwọn èèyàn wa. Ẹ ṣé gan ni sir, ẹ ṣé àdúpẹ́. Ibi tẹ́ ti mú ọgbọ́n yẹn wá kò ní tán bẹ́ẹ̀ o. Ọlọ́run á máa fi ìmọ̀ àti òye kún fún yín. Ní àsìkò yìí, a máa tẹ̀síwájú. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ṣé Dr. Victor Taiwo ti wà pẹ̀lú wa?
Wọ́n ti wà níbí.
Okay. Ẹ ṣeun. Màá tún fẹ́ sọ wípé ètò àpérò tá à ń ṣe yìí àti gbogbo nǹkan tá à ń sọ yìí, this discourse is a continuum. Kò kí ń ṣe bí ló máa tán sí. Ní ọjọ́ tí ò ní pẹ́, a máa ní physical summit tó yẹ pé a máa jókòó tá a tún máa jíròrò. Ẹ má bínú pé à ń gé àsìkò tẹ́ fi ń sọ̀rọ̀. Ọjọ́ tí ń lọ náà ni àmọ́ pé àwọn kan wà ní Nàìjíríà tó jẹ́ pé data yẹn ń run gan. So tá a bá pàdé àtúbọ̀ máa sọ. Àtúmọ̀ képe náà lórí fóònù láti máa gba consultation lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tá à ń sọ ń pa ẹ̀. So ní àkókò láì fi àkókò ṣòfò, màá fẹ́ pé ọ̀mọ̀wé wa Dókítà Victor Taiwo láti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí rural and urban security challenges in Yoruba land. Kó tó di pé wọ́n bá wa sọ̀rọ̀, màá kàn sáré fẹ́ sọ ń pa àwọn ní ráńpẹ́. Dr. Victor Taiwo, wọ́n jẹ́ writer, author, freedom fighter àti political reformer. Àwọn ni olùdarí ẹgbẹ́ Oòduà Redemption Alliance. Àwọn náà tún jẹ́ convener àpapọ̀ ọmọ Oòduà. Wọ́n tún jẹ́ ẹni tó initiate Yoruba Council of Elders in 2000. Àwọn ni chairman, central coordinator fún Southern Nigeria Regional Fronts. Àwọn náà tún ni convener fún Yoruba World Congress. Wọ́n tún jẹ́ national leader fún gbogbo àwọn Yoruba emancipation organizations in the homeland known as Apero, Egbe Aláàbò Ilẹ̀ Oòduà, Yoruba Homeland Security and Defense Initiative, an intellectual of high rating, a political writer, and a world-class author with 19 books to his credit. Ẹ ṣé gan ni, ọ̀mọ̀wé Victor Taiwo Ọ̀pọ̀nsúnkàn yìí sir.
Ẹ ṣé, ẹ kú ilé, ṣé ẹ ń gbọ́ mi báyìí?
À ń gbọ́ yín dáadáa.
Yes, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ṣe ètò yìí. Ọlọ́run á túbọ̀ máa kún ọgbọ́n yín o. Gbogbo sílẹ̀ àti owó tẹ́ ẹ ná àti gbogbo ọgbọ́n tí ẹ ń lò, Ọlọ́run á túbọ̀ máa bùkún o. Inú mi dùn púpọ̀ láti wà ní inú ilé tí ẹ pè mí sí lónìí. Mo dẹ̀ kí àwọn bàbá wa tán ti sọ̀rọ̀ ṣáájú látòrí bàbá FALANA, ọ̀gágun fẹ̀yìntì Olukolade, Chris Olukolade, ọ̀gágun fẹ̀yìntì Henry Ayoola. Ẹ kú iṣẹ́ látàárọ̀. Iṣẹ́ tí ẹ ní kémi wá ṣe ń bí lónìí, ẹ má bínú ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ ẹ ní Yorùbá àti Yorùbá ní ká sọ Yorùbá ló máa pọ̀jù lọ́rọ̀ tèmi torí pé àwọn Yorùbá là ń bá sọ̀rọ̀. Ìwé tí mo dẹ̀ fẹ́ present òyìnbó mi ní kàlóyìnbó, mo ti fi ránṣẹ́ sínú ilé. Màá kàn lérèfé kókó ibẹ̀ ni màá sọ so that àsìkò òfin ní pọ̀ púpọ̀ jù tí a máa lò. Lórí ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ààbò nílé ètò tó mẹ́hẹ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lónìí, ẹ̀yin àgbà máa ń pòwe ẹni amúkùn ẹ̀wò lọ́wọ́, ó ní òkèlè ẹ̀wò ẹ̀wò sàlẹ̀. Wàhálà tó dé bá wa nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lónìí, tó dé bá wa nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà àti nílẹ̀ Yorùbá lónìí, kì í ṣòní ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ o. ọ̀rọ̀ nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí gbogbo ló dàbí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa ń sọ nísìn kí ni solution kí ló fà á kí ni gbá nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí ni ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa dàbí ẹni pé à ń rí báyìí àwo alákẹ̀yìnwá níbo ni nǹkan ti wọ́ wá ilé tó wó àbí tó fẹ́ wó kí ló fà á tó fi wó ṣé foundation tí wọ́n ṣe sí ilé yẹn ṣé ó fẹsẹ̀ múlẹ̀ ṣé bó ṣe yẹ kó ṣe please take this phone away ṣé oyè fíìtì tó yẹ kó wọlẹ̀ tó fi jẹ́ kó tí ó fi jẹ́ kó dọ̀rọ̀ pé ilé fẹ́ wó lónìí àwọn òró nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí awo àtẹ̀yìnwá pé ńbo ni nǹkan ti wọ́ wá ọmọ bí tí nǹkan ti wọ́ wá kò sí bá a ṣe fẹ́ mọ ọ̀nà tí a fẹ́ gbà láti tún nǹkan tó bàjẹ́ ṣe nǹkan tí gbogbo wa mọ̀ náà ni ṣùgbọ́n ká kàn rán ara wa létí ni wọ́n ní tí pìlẹ̀ bá ti bàjẹ́ kò sí nǹkan tó lè ṣe tí a bá wo ìtàn Nàìjíríà ìgbà táwọn òyìnbó ti dé tán ti kó lúrú pọ̀ mọ́ṣá láti wọnú wàhálà ṣùgbọ́n àfúrá láti ìgbà yẹn láti ayé Lord Lugard tí wọ́n ti kó ìwọ̀ oòrùn pọ̀ mọ́ gúúsù ilẹ̀ wa àti òkè ọya tán ti kó wa pọ̀ ní wàhálà àti dé bá wa àwọn òyìnbó tó dẹ̀ kó wa pọ̀ yìí àwọn kan ní Ọlọ́run ló dá Nàìjíríà Ọlọ́run ò dá Nàìjíríà àwọn òyìnbó ló dá Nàìjíríà àwọn òyìnbó tó dẹ̀ dá Nàìjíríà ó nídìí tí wọ́n fi ṣe ìmọ̀ ara wọn ni wọ́n fi ṣe so kò sí èyí tó kàn wọ́n pẹ̀lú pé bóyá ìkan Haúsá ìkó Ìgbò nǹkan tó máa pé wọn ni wọ́n ṣe ẹni tó dẹ̀ kó wa pọ̀ níjọ́ yẹn ó sì kọ̀wé kan tó ń pè ní the British the dual mandate in British tropical Africa Lord Lugard ó sọ̀rọ̀ kan tí mo fẹ́ kó sí wa létí lónìí. No European power was in Africa for purely altruistic motives. And one side of the dual mandate which British and the other colonial powers had undertaken in Africa was apt to succeed at the expense of the other. The Europeans desired to exploit African trade and resources was apt to be a stronger force than the feeling of obligation for the African people to advance. Confession ńlá ni Lugard mi bẹ́ẹ̀ pé àwọn òfò ọya wá àwọn òfò odò wá láti wá ràn yín lọ́wọ́ pé àwọn wá torí ọrọ̀ ajé àwọn ni. So ń gbà tán dé tán bá Southern Nigeria tán bá Northern Nigeria wọ́n rí i pé gbogbo ẹ̀ ni wọ́n nídìí ṣùgbọ́n ọrọ̀ ajé náà kò lè satisfy nǹkan tí wọ́n bá wá wọ́n wá gbé ọrọ̀ ajé tiwa wọ́n fi ń sáfìsì wọn mẹ́yẹn so ibi tí wàhálà ti dé bá wa nìyẹn ọrọ̀ ajé wa sàlẹ̀ bí wọ́n fi ń sáfìsì wọn mẹ́yẹn now nígbà tí wàhálà kó pọ̀ yìí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ìkan nínú àwọn bàbá wa ń jọ́nà lọ́hùn tí wọ́n rí ọjọ́ iwájú wọ́n ń pè ní Alexander Sapara Williams the first prime minister of Nigeria. Only our great country has by that amalgamation gone into hibernation. I don't know how long it will be in that hibernation but tí ojú ò bá ti ìgbẹ̀yìn ojú ò ní ti Èkó as long as the Yoruba country is connected with the sea we shall come out of that hibernation to be a country again. Ó sọ àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ ìjọ náà lọ́hùn wọ́n ní kó gbẹ́nu ẹ̀ sọ́hùn. Now nígbà tí wọ́n fi tipátipá kó wa pọ̀ a dúpẹ́ pé bàbá wa Femi Awólọ́wọ̀ Ọlọ́run gbé wọn dìde láti jẹ́ kí wọ́n láti fi hàn wáyé pé ìran Yorùbá ìran tó yàtọ̀ pátápátá ni nínú ọgbọ́n àti òye. Ìjọba t'Awólọ́wọ̀ ṣe láàrin ọdún 7 kò sí ẹnì kankan ní gbogbo àgbáyé tó lè kọjá tó lè ṣe àṣeyọrí tó kọjá nǹkan tó bàbá yẹn ṣe in the whole world kò sẹ́ni tó lè surpass achievement bàbá yẹn. Ó jẹ́ ti ń rówó epo dẹ̀ epo yẹn náà wá gbẹ́kẹ̀lé gòwá ń sọ̀rọ̀ kan jọ́nà lọ́wọ́ ó ní problem Nàìjíríà kọ́ ni owó bẹ́ẹ̀ báwọn máa ṣe ná ni wọ́n
Dábẹ́ ni pé network Dr. Taiwo on fail. Dr. Taiwo tẹ́ bá ń gbọ́ wa, àwọn ọ̀gbọ́n yìí.
Àwọn armed robbers tó ń jà láàrin security threat ni wọ́n, security problem ni. Àwọn èèyàn wa tí wọ́n gbé orí èèyàn tó lọ fi ń gún ọṣẹ wọ́n bá lè lówó, security threat ni. Eléyìí ti wà pẹ̀lú wa ti pẹ́, kán fi èèyàn rúbọ, kán fi ritual killings over the places. Àwọn èèyàn ò lè ṣùgbádùn mọ́ nísìn, àwọn bandits kan ló ń jà wá lólè láàrin ara wa ń bì, àwọn ara wa ń bì yìí. Ìgbà tó wáyá ni àwọn bandits, àwọn terrorists náà tó wá wọlé, gbogbo ẹ̀ wá kú. So mi ìfẹ́ ká fojú pé àwọn bandits nìkan ni security threat ta ní, kì í ṣe àwọn nìkan o. Mo rí ìrírí kan ní ìgbà Jonathan tó kù díẹ̀ kí ó lọ, tó fowó kún owó epo, tí àwọn èèyàn bọ́ síta tí wọ́n yarí. Fún bí ọjọ́ bíi mẹ́ta tí wọ́n fi ṣe tó fi ìwọ́de tán ṣe yẹn, kò ṣiṣẹ́, ẹnìkan kan ò ṣiṣẹ́. Tẹ́ ẹ bá rí bí àwọn èèyàn ṣe ń jalè ní ọ̀sán gangan ní Nàìjíríà náà ní gbogbo wa rántí. Lọ́sàn-án gan-an jalè náà fọ́lé. Tí ò bá ṣiṣẹ́, àwọn èèyàn wa á dìdàkudà. Wọ́n á ṣe nǹkan tí ò sí lọ́kàn wọn láti ṣe. Wọ́n ní ọwọ́ tó dilẹ̀ ní èṣù ń bẹ̀ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. So ó jẹ́ ká mọ̀ pé àìsíṣẹ́, àìsí owó tí orílẹ̀-èdè máa ná ló fa oríṣiríṣi ìjàmbá tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wọn. Ní ìsìn àwọn students wa ti wà ní ìlú tó ti pẹ́, àwọn lecturers wọ ebi ń pa wọn ṣiṣẹ́. Nǹkan kan ló fà á, wọ́n á ní kò sówó kí ń dé tí ò fi sówó, màá ṣàlàyé ẹ̀ fún wa díẹ̀. Nínú àwọn òwe tí mo kọ, mo ṣe analysis kan pé ara nǹkan tó ń kó bá wa nínú ètò ọrọ̀ ajé òun ní. Number one, ẹnìkan sọ ọ̀rọ̀ kan, ó ní tí ò bá sí, ó ní nǹkan tá a fi lè gbélé ayé, ẹ jẹ́ kí n ka ilé ìlú òyìnbó ní ọ̀bá. One of the laws of survival is that every man or nation must sell something to earn survival. I repeat, one of the laws of survival is that every man or nation must sell something to earn. Bó ṣe rí láàrin àwọn èèyàn síra wa náà ló ṣe rí láàrin orílẹ̀-èdè sí orílẹ̀-èdè. Kí ni àwa ń tà? Kí ni à ń rà? Tí a bá ra nǹkan márùn-ún, tá a ta nǹkan márùn-ún, a ní balance of trade. Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà tó bá yẹ pé àwa bá ń ta nǹkan ẹyọ kan, à ń import nǹkan mẹ́wàá. Mẹ́sàn-án tó ṣẹ́kù yẹn níbo la ti fẹ́ rówó di? Fún àpèjúwe analysis tí mo ṣe ń bíbá yìí nínú ìwé mi kan tí mo pè ní African Time, Black Man's Tragedy. Okay, àwa nǹkan táwa ń tà ní crude oil. 10 naira ní ata. Nǹkan tá à ń import nípa crude oil 0, import crude oil. But nǹkan tí a tún tó yẹ ká tà síta lẹ́lẹ́kejì kò sí, ṣùgbọ́n à ń import refined oil. Nǹkan tó yẹ ká tà síta kò sí, à ń import aeroplane. Nǹkan tó yẹ ká tà síta kò sí, à ń import ship. Nǹkan tó yẹ ká tà síta kò sí, à ń import mọ́tò. Nǹkan tó yẹ ká tà síta kò sí, industrial machinery, à ń import ẹ̀ ní. Nǹkan tó yẹ ká tà síta kò sí, nǹkan tí à ń import arms and ammunition. Àti bẹ́ẹ̀ toothpick, lórí toothpick ni o ha fi ń ta yín là ń import o. Lórí toothpick, phone, computer, glass, wristwatch, radio, television, camera, calculator, construction plants, drugs, electricity, material, water pipes, jewelry, motorcycle, wine, medical equipment, survey equipment, musical equipment, fabric, furniture, shoes, refinery plants. Nínú nǹkan ọgbọ̀n tí mo kà síbí, à import nǹkan 29, à export nǹkan ẹyọ kan. Nǹkan ẹyọ kan tá import 10 naira ni. Nǹkan tá export 10 naira ni. Nǹkan tá ti import nísìnyí ó ti di 290 naira. Or 200. A dẹ̀ fi nǹkan $10 síta. A ti ní deficit of 290. So ìgbèsè ló jẹ́ fún wa. Lọ́dún tó ń bọ̀ 290 àtúgùn. Lọ́dún tó ń bọ̀ 290 àtúgùn. Lọ́dún tó ń bọ̀ 290 àtúgùn. ó wá gùn títí ìgbésẹ̀ wá di gélé mọ́ àwa lọ́nà àbáyọ mọ́ ibi tí wàhálà wá dé nìyẹn àwa ní kò sí olówó ṣe fẹ́ wà á ní àwọn ìjọba tó máa ronú pé kí làwa náà lè kà síta kí la lè ṣe tẹ bá rọmọ kan sì tó lóun fẹ́ ṣe rédíò nísìnyí tó tiẹ̀ ti ṣe tó ní ẹ̀ràn lọ́wọ́ wọn àgbàṣẹ́gbẹ́ kan tẹ bá rẹni tó ṣe ìbọn nínú àwọn èèyàn wa àwọn ọlọ́pàá mú wọn ní illegal firearms whereas wọ́n rẹ́dí àti import firearms yẹn lókè òkun wọ́n ní wọ́n lókè illegal so gbogbo nǹkan tá lè fi sọ̀rọ̀ ajé òun ló kó bá wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí àlàyé kan tí mo sábà máa ń ṣe tẹ́ ẹ bá gbé táǹkì sílẹ̀ tó bá tó gbogbo lé tómi yẹn bá ń regun ní kọ̀ọ̀kan tó resí ní kọ̀ọ̀kan ní tó drop kọ̀ọ̀kan bó ti wù kó pẹ́ tó bá kún lọ́kan kíkún yẹn ló kún yìí o kíkún yẹn ló kún lónìí kíkún yẹn làwa rí ń jọ́nà lọ́hùn-ún pé wàhálà nàìjíríà tí ó ti kún débi pé kò sí ọ̀nà àbáyọ níwọ̀nba àgbà tá a bá ṣe àtúnṣe pé kí làwa náà fẹ́ tà tó yẹ pé kíkó wọlé pẹ̀lú deficit pẹ̀lú gbèsè kò sọ́nà àbáyọ àwọn òyìnbó tí wọ́n dẹ̀ ń tó ń control wa indirectly wọ́n mọ̀ káwa Yorùbá gbọ́n ṣùgbọ́n wọn ò fẹ́ káwa nípò ká má bàa gbàjẹ́ lẹ́nu wọn òun náà ṣe gbé àwọn Haúsá Fúlàní kan ṣe ń ṣe kọ́ ba lè máa rẹwà jẹ torí wọ́n bẹ̀rù Awólọ́wọ̀ gbà ìgbà tẹ́lẹ̀ bá fi lè continue báyìí ó máa block oúnjẹ àwọn ṣùgbọ́n tó bá mọ̀ ó lè mú kíjọ lọ síwájú wà Nàìjíríà nílẹ̀ wa lọ́dọ̀ Yorùbá wọn ò ní gbà so now kí ni ọ̀nà àbáyọ èmi wo ṣàkúnjọ́ náà lọ́hùn-ún torí mo máa ń sọ pé mo ní ẹ̀bùn kí n máa rí ọjọ́ iwájú ní ọdún 1994 mo ríran wípé Nàìjíríà kò sí nǹkan kan tó lè ṣe tí òfin ní fọ́ kò sí ẹni tó lè ṣe tí Nàìjíríà òfin ní fọ́ mo dẹ̀ kọ̀wé kan jọ́nà lọ mo wọ́ọ̀nù gbogbo ayé mo pè ní Nigerian gunpowder 1994 28 years ago ní ìsìn àti wà lórí àgbá ètò ní ìsìn àwọn èèyàn ṣẹ̀ wọ́n á yìn mí lágbá ṣé orí ìran ni ṣé orí kinní kan ni ẹmo ní mo rí ìran ni nǹkan tí a ti sọ́njọ́nà ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lónìí. èkejì ní 2015 ọ̀rọ̀ banditry tó ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ sìn Ọlọ́run tó fún mi lóye ẹ̀ wípé wàhálà ń bọ̀ o àwọn ọ̀tá máa wọlé wọ́n máa fẹ́ gbalẹ̀ wa o mo dẹ̀ kígbe ńgbà yẹn mo kọ̀wé mo pariwo mo ṣe oríṣiríṣi nǹkan tí mi rẹ́dí àti máa sọ ń bì ọ̀rọ̀ ọjọ́ mi nìyẹn pé wàhálà ti dé sí bá Nàìjíríà tá a bá tètè gbégbèsè báyìí gbogbo ibi tó yẹ kí n ti sọ̀rọ̀ mo ti sọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo ìwé tó yẹ kí n kọ gbogbo ìgbésẹ̀ tó yẹ kí n gbé ni mo gbé ní ìsìn wàhálà ti dé bá wa. so kókó ibi tí mo lọ ni pé kò sí ọ̀nà àbáyọ kankan fún Nàìjíríà kò dẹ̀ sí ọ̀nà àbáyọ kankan fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá bí ó ṣe rí pé kí Yorùbá dá dúró èmi ti ń sọ títí láti ọjọ́ tó ti pẹ́ màá dẹ̀ sọ títí dìgbà tí Yorùbá máa fi lómìnira ẹni mi ò ní yàtọ̀. so ẹ bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ restructuring ẹni tó bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ restructuring ìwé ẹṣin lẹ̀ ń wá ìwé ẹṣin ló má dùnú o ìwé ẹṣin tẹ́ ẹ̀ lè rí òun lọ̀rọ̀ restructuring ti kọjá ní Nàìjíríà ọ̀nà àbáyọ kan ṣoṣo ọ̀rọ̀ mi lè má ní ìtumọ̀ báyìí oṣù tó ní ìtumọ̀ níwájú ọ̀nà àbáyọ kan ṣoṣo ni pé kí Yorùbá dá dúró kí Yorùbá gba òmìnira ṣùgbọ́n tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé kí Yorùbá tó wá gba òmìnira yẹn wọ́n ní àyàngbé ajájò ajá tó gbẹ ká tó gbòmìnira ọ̀rọ̀ wàhálà ètò ààbò tó dé bá wa kí la fẹ́ ṣe sí ká tiẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ yanjú ìrànlọ́ pé wọn ò máa gbé wa pa wọn ò gbalẹ̀ wa ọ̀rọ̀ afẹ́gbòmìnira ó lè jẹ́ lọ́la lónìí 6 August ó lè jẹ́ lọ́la 7 tí omi lè sọ ṣùgbọ́n lónìí yẹn kó tó gbé ìgbà yẹn kí la fẹ́ ṣe sí ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ààbò a ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ lórí ẹ̀ tipẹ́tipẹ́ a ní àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ tá a ti gbé pé bá a ṣe lè tako ètò ààbò a wò pé ọ̀nà méjì ni ìkan physical ìkan spiritual tá a bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ physical àwa ti wà ní ẹnu iṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ Oòduà ọjọ́ ti pẹ́ ilẹ̀ tàṣí àmọ́ ti fún tẹ̀gbọ́ ẹ̀ a mọ àwọn èèyàn wa tó yẹ pé wọ́n ṣetán láti jà fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá wọ́n wà nílẹ̀ tó yẹ pé kò sí òye àwọn èèyàn tá a fẹ́ lónìí tí wọ́n ṣetán wọ́n wà nílẹ̀ láti jà fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá ṣùgbọ́n èkejì ní spiritual agbára kan làwọn bàbá wa ń lò ní ayé ìjọ́un ní odindi ìlú ó lè yẹ pé ọdẹ kan oṣù péré náà máa fi sọ ìlú wọn ní gbogbo ìlú bó ṣe tóbi tó ọdẹ kan oṣù péré kì í ṣe pé ọdẹ yẹn ò ní sùn lóru ó ní nǹkan tó fi máa ń wọ́n lẹ̀ agbára ìbílẹ̀ wà àbí tá a bá fẹ́ tanra wa jẹ lókù ẹ má jà tanra wa jẹ agbára àwọn bàbá wa wà tó fi ń ṣọ́ọ̀lù jọ̀hún tó fi ń jagun jọ̀hún tó fi ń ṣẹ́gun jọ̀hún ṣágbára yẹn ò sí mọ́ ni àwa ti ṣèwádìí arípagbára yẹn wà ìgbà tá a rí pé agbára yẹn wà ní mo rántí pé ní January 14 year 2000 Ọlọ́run lò wá láti pe ìpàdé kan síbàdàn ní House of Chiefs láti ṣe meeting yẹn a lọ káàkiri gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá wá àwọn alágbára lọ àwọn pásítọ̀ tó ń lágbára ni o àwọn imam tó lágbára ni o àwọn oníṣàngó ni o àwọn ológun ni o àwọn ọlọ́ya ni o àwọn ọlọ́ṣun ni o àwọn babaláwo ni o àwọn gbogbo wọn la wá ọmọ pé wọ́n ní agbára àbílẹ̀ a dẹ̀ pè wọ́n sí meeting wọ́n dẹ̀ wá ibẹ̀ yẹn kún jọ́nà lọ́hùn January 14 year 2000 House of Chiefs ibẹ̀ yẹn kún wọ́n dẹ̀ ń gbọ́ tí ẹ pé ara ń gbọ̀n máa láwọn ṣetán láti defend ilẹ̀ Yorùbá agbára yẹn wà ń bẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n bó ti kágbára yẹn ṣe pọ̀ tó ẹni bá fẹ́ ra orógbó Nàìjíríà ní ìsìn ó ní orógbó ẹyọ kan àwọn nǹkan tó máa fi ṣiṣẹ́ yẹn owó ló máa ná àwọn yóò dàbí pé ká sọ pé òkè o ọmọ ogun wa lọ jà o wọ́n ní Nigerian soldier yóò lọ máa jà kò sí sálárì kò sí ìbọn kò sí kankan ẹ ṣáà lọ àbí wọ́n ti jà ní nǹkan tí ò ṣeé ṣe nìyẹn kẹ́ ẹ tó ràn yàn pé òkè lọ ṣiṣẹ́ báyìí mú fi ọmọ àtìyàwó ẹ sílẹ̀ nínú ilé ó yá wọnú igbó lọ bọ́ àwọn ọ̀tá tó ń dà wá láàmú ẹ ti fi nǹkan sílẹ̀ nínú ilé ẹ ti dun òun náà nínú nǹkan tó máa fi ṣe ẹ máa fún un kí ló máa fi ṣe owó ni àwọn tó máa jagun wà nílẹ̀ láti defend wa àwa ní wọn àwọn tó máa ṣe iṣẹ́ àwọn àgbà àwọn alágbára ilẹ̀ Yorùbá a ní wọn tó wà nílẹ̀ ṣẹpẹ́ mo dẹ̀ fi ń dàgbà yé lójú pé tí a bá rí ìrànlọ́wọ́ owó láàrin 60 days ilẹ̀ Yorùbá máa gbòmìnira kò wá kúbi tá a ti fẹ́ rí owó yẹn mo wá ń fi àsìkò ìlú àwọn èèyàn wa lọ́gọ ẹnu ní diaspora mo ń dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ wọn gan mo ń dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó wà ní diaspora gan ọpẹ́lọpẹ́ wọn lára wa yes tá a bá fi dá àwa tá a wà nù lé ní àbí tá a máa kú sí làwà yìí o torí pé àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù ò lówó àwọn tó lówó wọn ò fẹ́ gbọ́rọ̀ wa àwọn tó lówó wọn ò fẹ́ gbọ́ nǹkan tá à ń sọ pàápàá jùlọ àwọn olóṣèlú wọn ò tiẹ̀ fẹ́ gbọ́ nǹkan tá à ń sọ rárá àti rárá so a lọ lábẹ́lẹ̀ ṣe nǹkan ọ̀rọ̀ security ò ṣe nǹkan tó yẹ ká gbé síta abẹ́lẹ̀ ló yẹ ká ṣe ṣùgbọ́n a ti wà lẹ́nu ẹ̀ tá a ti lọ bá wọn a bẹ̀ wọ́n a rọ̀ wọ́n a kọ lẹ́tà a ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ ò tiẹ̀ dá wa lóhùn mo rántí ìkànnù àwọn olówó ilẹ̀ tó sọ fún mi pé ìwọ ọmọ tó ọpọlọ ẹ pé báyìí tó yẹ kó máa lẹ́tọ̀ yunifásitì tó wá ń gbé báàgì kiri tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá pé kí ló kàn pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tí wàhálà bá dé òun nílé l'Amẹ́ríkà wọ́n á kó fámílì àwọn ìlú Amẹ́ríkà so mindset ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn olówó ní ẹ pé tó wàhálà bá dé àwọn máa kúrò Nàìjíríà so olówó ò sí láti ràn wá lọ́wọ́ àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù ò ní láti ràn wá lọ́wọ́ àwọn diaspora tó wà ń bẹ́ẹ̀ tó ń ṣe gudugudu méje ya mẹ́fà mo fi Ọlọ́run búra fún yín tó bá dá owó lọ́dún di ọdún mẹ́wàá àwọn kan wà nù lẹ́bí jẹ́ pé wọ́n lè gbé owó yẹn lẹ́lẹ̀ ìjọ kan náà owó tó wà ní Nàìjíríà ní owó tí diaspora bá dá fọdún mẹ́wàá ẹnìkan lè gbé lẹ̀ ìjọ kan wọ́n ní owó yẹn ṣùgbọ́n gbà tá a bá wọn sọ tí wọ́n gbọ́ olówó jẹ́ kí àwa gbé ètò fún jáde ní ẹni jọ mẹ́ta ìpè òkè o àwọn olóṣèlú tá a pè tí wọ́n dáhùn yìí àwọn olóṣèlú tá a pè tí wọ́n dáhùn àwọn governors yẹn ṣàdúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn governors o wọ́n gbìyànjú wọ́n gbé Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn kalẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn yẹn agbára àwọn òka agbára Àmọ̀tẹ́kùn òka nǹkan tó wà lẹ̀ a dẹ̀ ti kọ̀wé sí wọn títí wọn dá wa lóhùn iṣẹ́ yẹ ẹ̀ lè dá ṣe ẹ jẹ́ ká ranra wa lọ́wọ́ wọn dáhùn sọ wá rò pé kí la lè ṣe tá a bá pè wọ́n ní pọ̀ tó wọn bá gbọ́ bóyá ká pè wọ́n sí gbangba òun ló jẹ́ káwa gbé ètò kan jáde lẹ́nu ọjọ́ mẹ́ta tá a pè ní Yorùbá Land Security Trust Fund tá a fẹ́ launch láìpẹ́ pé okay ẹ jẹ́ ká pè àwọn arábí sí gbangba káwá rí ẹni tó máa sọ pé ètò ààbò kan òun o ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́ so nǹkan tá a ṣe ni pé prógráàmù méjì ló wà nílẹ̀ fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá báyìí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá Nation ó dúró báyìí ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ààbò ó dúró báyìí a mọ̀ pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn wa wọn fẹ́ gbọ́rọ̀ Yorùbá Nation ibi tèmi dúró sí títí ayé nìyẹn o ṣùgbọ́n àti pé wọn fẹ́ gbọ́ wa wá ní òkè ẹgbẹ́ tá a ṣe kójọ yìí ẹ má tiẹ̀ jẹ́ ká sọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá Nation torí pé àwọn tá a fẹ́ bá sọ̀rọ̀ wọn fẹ́ gbọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká máa bá ilé lọ lábẹ́lẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ká pè wọ́n sí eléyìí ẹni tó bá ní ọ̀rọ̀ security ò kàn ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́ ìdí ẹ̀ tá a ṣe pé ṣe ètò kan tá a fẹ́ ṣe ní on the 18 August yìí Ilé Ifẹ̀ gan tí orí ìrun wa gan la gbé la pe àwọn èèyàn síbẹ̀ a dẹ̀ nígbàgbọ́ kan ṣùgbọ́n àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ tí mo fẹ́ sọ rèé àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ tí mo fẹ́ sọ yìí ní kí n tó sọ ní òkú àwọn ọ̀gágun kan bá mi ṣèpàdé wọ́n fún mi ní àwọn information kan lábẹ́lẹ̀ tó yẹ pé tẹ́ ẹ bá ń gbọ́ ẹ máa sun ẹkún ni bá gbọ́ information Yorùbá máa sọ ẹkú pé inú ewu la wà tó pọ̀ tó báyìí yes wọ́n ti surround wa àwọn wọ́n ti surround wa bet àwọn yẹn fún mi ní information tó yẹ pé mo fẹ́ lè máa gbọ́ báyìí pé so ọ̀rọ̀ wa ti le tó báyìí tí a bá ṣọ́ra tá a bá fi lè miss ká wá ojútùú sí ọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá láàrin oṣù méjì sísìn àbí kọ́dún tó parí èyí tá à ń wí kọ́ la máa sọ bí mo ṣe máa ń sọ àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ mo tó ń sọ ilé náà èyí tá à ń wí kọ́ la máa sọ so ẹ jẹ́ kí gbogbo wa fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ká wá ọ̀nà tí a máa fi ṣe tá a máa fi rówó ṣiṣẹ́ àwọn èèyàn wà tó fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ owó tó máa fi ṣiṣẹ́ ni ò sí nínú ètò tá a dẹ̀ gbé kalẹ̀ yẹn nǹkan tá a ṣe ń bẹ̀ ni pé owó tó bá wọlé asset of board of trustees àwọn àgbààgbà tó rúkọ wọn dá nílùú àwọn ló máa wà in charge of owó yẹn kò lè kàn irú èmi báyìí kò sí bóyá kàn mí lọ́wọ́ kàn mí lẹ́sẹ̀ torí nǹkan tó bá ti ẹ̀jọ́ mọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ owó public ó máa ń ní èmi lára láti súnmọ́ bẹ̀ àwọn àgbààgbà tó rúkọ wọn dá nílùú lání kọ́ ṣe ètò owó yìí àwọn tó máa ṣiṣẹ́ kọ́ jọ ṣèpàdé pọ̀ kọ́ dẹ̀ àwọn àgbààgbà kọ́ mọ̀ pé tá a bá gbé síbí yìí o á lójútùú á lè bọ́ ní. so ibi tíṣẹ́ dé dúró nìyẹn o kókó tí mò ń sọ ní méjì ni wípé ní tá a bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ solution àkọ́kọ́ ni pé mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ kan mo ní tí ẹgbẹgbẹ̀rún Awólọ́wọ̀ bá padà wá kò lè tó Nàìjíríà mọ́ tí gbogbo áńgẹ́lì òde ọ̀run bá wá wọn ò lè tún Nàìjíríà ṣe mọ́ the only solution is let Yorùbá go and ìran kan tí mo rí mo fẹ́ sọ fún yín another one publicly a ní wàhálà kan tá à ń bá fira ní gbogbo Africa the whole of Africa ní ẹ̀yà mọ́wọ́ táìmù nínú ẹ̀ka nígbà pé ẹ̀yà mẹ́ta lọ́lọ́run dá sílé ayé à ń pè àwọn kan ní Caucasians àwọn òyìnbó aláwọ̀ funfun à ń pè àwọn kan ní Mongolians àwọn òyìnbó aláwọ̀ yellow àwọn bíi Chinese Japan China Japan Korea and so on then our negro nínú ẹ̀yà mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta àwọn méjì ti lọ wọ́n ti kọjá inú òṣùpá wọ́n ti bọ́ sọ́dá planet àwa òkú olójú kan náà the whole of Africa the whole of the black people ojú kan náà la wà kí ló fà á tá a fi wà lójú kan yẹn a ti ń ṣèwádìí ẹ̀ ti pẹ́ àwa tó ká wá jìyà ni ló fi jẹ́ pé kò tiẹ̀ wá sí toothpick lásán àlè dáṣe lẹ́yìn òyìnbó àdègbélé ayé ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́pọlọ wá dúdú tó ní ìwádìí tá a dẹ ṣe dẹ̀ fi hàn wá pé ọpọlọ tí gẹ́gẹ́ bí Professor Boas bó ṣe ìwádìí tó ṣe ni pé tó bá kú ọpọlọ èèyàn dúdú ọpọlọ èèyàn pupa àti èèyàn yẹ́lò tó bá kó sílẹ̀ ẹ̀ lè dá wọn mọ̀ torí pé bákan náà lọ́ọ̀ ṣe dá wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ kí ló mú àwa tí ajé akú rẹ̀ tẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Áfíríkà so kò sí problem tí ò ní expiry date èmi nígbàgbọ́ pé níjọ́ kan Áfíríkà máa dìde àwa náà máa gòkè a máa dàbí àwọn èèyàn wa ní òkè lọ́hùn ìran tí mo wá fẹ́ sọ ni pé the only country tó lè liberate Africa is Yoruba nation that's my conviction mo wà certain about it the only country tó máa liberate Africa is Yoruba nation tí ò bá sí Yoruba nation ibi tí Africa máa kú sí ló wà so tí a bá gbé Yoruba nation dìde ká wá gbàdúrà kí Ọlọ́run fi irú ọlọ́pọlọ pípé bí Awólọ́wọ̀ kò fi kẹ́ wa torí ká ní Yorùbá nation tó ká bá ní Yorùbá nation tó yẹ pé àwọn tó máa bàjẹ́ náà ló tó wà ń bẹ̀ back to square one bẹ̀kọ́ náà fi lè bí Awólọ́wọ̀ kẹ́ wa ká wá ní àfojúsùn pé gbogbo ibi tí Amẹ́ríkà wà tí China wà tí Japan wà tí Britain wà tí France wà láàrin ọdún 10 a ní resources ẹ̀ aláwọn ọlọ́pọlọ o a dẹ̀ ní owó ọrọ̀ tá a ní John Paul wá sí Nàìjíríà ní year 2000 or 2002 can't remember ó sọ̀rọ̀ kan ó ní the most blessed country in the world is Nigeria ó ti ṣèwádìí ẹ̀ in terms of everything talk of human resources talk of agricultural resources talk of mineral resources tó ń bá dẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ pé part of Nigeria tó wà most blessed Yorùbá land ni o Western region ni o àwa ni o kò sí nǹkan tá a fẹ́ lò tí Ọlọ́run fi kẹ́ wa ń bì ṣùgbọ́n torí pé àlò lórí nígbà tí Awólọ́wọ̀ ti lọ àlò lórí kankan àṣomọ́rì so kí n round off ọ̀rọ̀ mi ṣókí ni kókó ọ̀rọ̀ mi ni pé ọ̀nà àbáyọ sí wàhálà tá a wà gẹ́gẹ́ bí orílẹ̀-èdè ní ká gba òmìnira gẹ́gẹ́ bí Yorùbá sínú ìyẹn ṣùgbọ́n lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ń sìn mo sọ pé àwọn ẹgbẹ́ adágùn kájá tó gbẹ̀ nǹkan la máa jẹ ọ̀rọ̀ ètò ààbò tó wà nílẹ̀ àwa ní solution sí o owó ni ò sí o now pẹ̀lú pé a ti sọ pé àwọn tó wà nílẹ̀ ò lówó àwọn ọlọ́lá wa náà wọn ọ̀rẹ́dì àti fowó sílẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ká pè wọ́n síta wò ná bóyá wọn ò ní dá wa lóhùn tó wọn bá wá dá wa lóhùn á jẹ́ pé gbogbo wa nìyà máa jẹ Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kí ìyàwó jẹ wa ó máa kan àwọn náà ṣùgbọ́n tó bá dá wa lóhùn inú wa á dùn àwọn kan ní ẹ ṣe lè pé lágbájá ẹ ṣe lè pé tẹmẹdù Dr. Taiwo was my very good friend when he was alive my very good friend ẹ má ní ọjọ́ orí o ó ju bàbá mi lọ lọ́jọ́ orí ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀rẹ́ mi ló máa ń pè mí ó sọ ọ̀rọ̀ kan jọ náà lọ́hùn-ún yes ó sọ ọ̀rọ̀ kan jọ náà lọ́hùn-ún ó ní you don't need a multitude to change the world. All you require is a single valiant who will take a giant stride and others will follow. So, àwa tọ́lọ́run bá fi sí lọ́kàn pé ká ṣiṣẹ́ yìí, bó jẹ́ pé unity ó dáa, unity ó dáa, unity ó dáa, kí gbogbo wa wà papọ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n bá a ṣe fẹ́ kí unity ó wà tó, a gbìyànjú títí. Èmi ò fẹ́ máa sọ̀rọ̀ ara mi ń bì yìí o, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tó bá mọ ìtàn mi á mọ̀ pé tá a bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ pé kí Yorùbá wà lọ́kàn ká jọ ṣe pa. Kò sí ẹni tó rí ní rẹ́kọ̀dù mi in the whole world mo ti gbìyànjú lórí ẹ̀ títí ok síta bá ní kí unity ó pé ká kúkú ká ó gbéra ni àwọn tó lọ́n bá fi sí lọ́kàn pé kán ṣe ẹ̀jẹ̀ kán ṣe ká ti lálà ká gbòmìnira òun ló ṣe pàtàkì jù so mo nígbàgbọ́ pé ọ̀rọ̀ kejì tí Dr. Taiwo láàrin sọ mo fẹ́ sọ ní síta bá fìdí ẹ̀ múlẹ̀ if the devil gives me money I will take it and use it to educate Nigerian children. If the devil gives me money, I will take it and use it to educate Nigerian children. If the devil gives me money, I will use it to save Nigeria from security hazard. If the devil gives me money, I will use it to liberate Yoruba nation into a superpower and first world country. So that ibi tí Ọlọ́run fẹ́ mú wa lọ tọ́lọ́run pèsè fún wa láti lọ ibi gíga tó wá dé àlè débẹ̀ kò ní sí pé àwọn ọmọ wa ò ríṣẹ́ ṣe kò sóúnjẹ kò sí iná kò sójú ọ̀nà kò sí kankan gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ́lọ́run kẹ́ wa láti ṣe so mo fi àsìkò yìí dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tí ó ṣe ètò yìí atótó mi ò ní jù báyìí lọ mo dúpẹ́ púpọ̀ lọ́wọ́ tẹ́ gbà mí láyè ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ o.
ẹ ṣé gan ni dókítà wa Victor Taiwo fún ohun tẹ́ bá wa sọ ọgbọ́n pọ̀ nínú ohun tẹ́ sọ òye sì wà ńbẹ̀ mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé gbogbo wa náà ibi tẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ dé gbogbo ẹ̀ ló yé wa mo tún fẹ́ sọ wípé àwọn tó ti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ṣáájú àwọn general wa ẹ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ pé general Nigerian Army ni wọ́n àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń bá sọ bóyìnbó ṣe máa ń sọ wọ́n ní read between the lines a máa fi ìmọ̀ àti ọgbọ́n àti òye láti fi understand better àwọn nǹkan míì tí wọ́n ò sọ tán a rí pé gbogbo nǹkan tí gbogbo wa ń sọ ìkọ̀kọ̀ náà ni àgbékalẹ̀ wa lè yàtọ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀ àmọ́ ṣá ibìkan ni gbogbo wa ń sọ and lára beauty ọ̀rọ̀ wa náà ni pé a ní plurality of views a ní plurality of ideas gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ojú kan náà wọ́n sì máa ti pàdé nǹkan tí àpérò wà fún náà nìyẹn láti entertain different perspectives láti lè jẹ́ pé ẹsẹ̀ tá a máa gbé á wà guided pẹ̀lú oríṣiríṣi ọgbọ́n àti òye ohun tá a sì ń rí lédè náà nìyẹn ẹ ṣeun adúpẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bá ṣe sọ interactive session ni àpérò jẹ́ àsìkò máa wà láti béèrè ìbéèrè àti láti fi sọ àsọkún fún ẹni tó bá fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ àmọ́ ṣáka tó lọ síbẹ̀ yẹn a fẹ́ pe alága títí òní tó bá ṣì wà pẹ̀lú wa láti bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ láti fi kásẹ̀ sílẹ̀ tó bá ti parí yẹn a lè lọ sí question and answer a lè ní enough time láti sọ̀rọ̀ tó bá fẹ́ béèrè lọ́wọ́ àwọn náà ẹ lè béèrè lórí ohun tó bá wa sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tiwọn. So at this point, I respectfully call on Barrister Femi FALANA to give his closing remarks.
You can unmute, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We
Hello?
can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Yes. Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀. Ẹ̀yin ẹgbẹ́ wa, a dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ gidigidi lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó pe pàdé yìí. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ti sọ̀rọ̀. Ọ̀rọ̀ ìwúrí lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ láti gbọ́ lẹ́nu wọn. Ṣùgbọ́n èmi á ìpàdé báyìí kọ́ láti máa ń láti lè pẹnu pọ̀ pé a fẹ́ ní ìpínlẹ̀ tiwa. Not all of us are convinced yet that we need to have Yoruba nation. So we need to continue to convince our people of the viability of a Yoruba nation. But what is important for now? Nigeria lónìí. There are matters that have to be attended to urgently. Ìyà ń jẹ àwọn èèyàn wa, àwọn ọmọ wa ò ríṣẹ́, àwọn ìjọba ń dálé iṣẹ́ lẹ̀. Èkó ti university, wọ́n ti ní university mẹ́ta, Ondo ní university mẹ́ta as state government. I'm not talking of private universities. Today, there are 204 universities in Nigeria. 54, a quarter, 25% ló wà ní Southwest. Bó kò sí gómìnà kan lẹ́nìí tá a sọ pé àwọn ọmọ tó fẹ́ jáde nílé ìwé lọ́dún yìí, iṣẹ́ wo la fẹ́ fún wọn. Now, ẹnìkan sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ǹkan pé olóyè Awólọ́wọ̀ wọ́n gbìyànjú, wọ́n ṣe dáadáa. Àwa náà tó ti gbàgbé pé ní Second Republic ìjọba kan wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó jẹ́ pé no state government in Nigeria has ever embarked on the project that Jakonde carried out in Lagos. In 4 years, 30,000 housing units. Kò sí housing unit for the poor man ní gbogbo Southwest. Not one. Ilé táwọn ìjọba ń kọ́ lẹ́nìí, ilé fáwọn ọlọ́lá ni. 2, there was full employment. Why is that impossible today? But that governor that did that, but Jakonde deko, àwọn ọmọ school wa, àwọn kan máa lọ school láàárọ̀, àwọn kan lọ lọ́sàn-án. All that was abolished. Jakonde embarked on the most gigantic project, the Metro Line project. Táwọn Buhari àwọn ìdí àgbọn tó stop. Lagos had paid 600 million naira for that job. Ngba tó máa sue wa 675 million lèkó san. Now, and when I'm talking of 600 million, it's like 600 billion today. Now, Ashe wa jókòó. Pé, like I said earlier, kòkòrò tó ń jẹ fún ara ẹ̀fọ́ ló wà. Bàbá tiẹ̀ máa pé tó Nàìjíríà pín. As of today, how can we secure the Southwest? And sentiments apart, for reasons that I will not go into here, the Southwest today remains the most secure part of Nigeria. How do we retain that status? Because how do we retain the position of primus inter pares in Nigeria? And I think that is the kind of submissions our generals have made. For now, what are the options that are available to us as a people? I think General Olukolade was talking about water bill. I can assure you, water bill is illegal. I've made the point. Today, the entire land in every state is vested in the governor. And I also made this point, unless you want to ruralize your state, nobody can ruralize any part of the Southwest. The only area where President Buhari has control in all his majesty is the Federal Capital Territory. There are decisions of our courts to this effect. The Land Use Act has vested the entire land in every state in the governor, in the interest of the people. 2, inland waterways. For the coastal states, there is also a judgment of the Court of Appeal that all the water, inland waterways, a colonial court, only the House of Assembly can make law on inland waterway. Between one state and the other, the federal government coming. 3, Lagos has also gone to court. Physical planning. Mi ò lè fẹ́ kọ́lé lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ kí n lọ máa gbàwé ní federal secretariat. Àbí kí n fẹ́ dig ilẹ̀, I have to go to federal secretariat. Here in America, you can't dig any.
Network sir, àgbọ́yìn sir.
Ẹ bá ń gbọ́ wa wá ọ̀gbọ́yìn sà.
Mo lè bóyá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí take question and answer sir. Wow, well.
Okay. À ń rí fídíò yìí sà bọ̀ wá àgbọ́yìn. Ẹ wà mute ní sẹ́lẹ̀ ọ̀mí ìtara yín sà. Barrister Falana. Ẹ ọ̀mí ìtara yín. Ẹ ọ̀mí ìtara yín Barrister Falana. Ó jọ wípé connection àárín wọn àmọ́ ṣáà kan. Ẹ jọ sáré ọ̀mí ìtara yín. Ẹ bá ń gbọ́ mi o.
I think the moderator can go on. I was not. Okay, I think I've just been unmuted.
À ń gbọ́ yín sìn.
Ṣé ti gbọ́ mi sìn?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni sir.
Nǹkan tí mò ń sọ ni pé in the area of restructuring, and this I can make available to your members later, we have won not less than 15 to 20 cases where powers have been taken from Abuja and given to the states and local government. But what has happened? Our governors have cornered all the powers. So we must talk of restructuring horizontally and vertically. The other one, apart from the last speaker, we have not really addressed social security. We have invested a lot of time on physical security. How do we create jobs? How do we manage our resources to create jobs for our people? Nigeria today under Buhari, forget what they say about Abuja. Any state government today that wants to address the problem of economic crisis is allowed because the federal government in Abuja has no solution to any problem. Today, aviation is in the exclusive legislative list. Nigeria has not been able to bring back to restore Nigeria Airways. Akwa Ibom has Ibom Air, one of the best domestic airlines in Nigeria. Akwa Ibom, Imo State, Anambra State, and Delta State have their own airports. No state in the Southwest has its own airport. So for me, if we sit down today, like the last speaker has been saying, if you want to feed the entire African continent with rice, it is possible in the Southwest. When the governor of Lagos, Ambode, Tolo Nshele Christ, Kebi, LA for Lagos, KE for Kebi. I say, Your Excellency, in we have for father rice in Ogun State, we have Igbimo rice in Ekiti State. So why don't you invest in the region? If you must all know, sir, Lagos is the richest state in the Southwest and in Nigeria. That state, Lagos, on Titaparu, joined the Southwest Investment Forum, Odua Investment, only in 2014. Since then, Lagos has not contributed anything meaningfully to the development of the Southwest. And I think one of our generals also insisted, or both of them suggested, that we should have a think tank. We have a think tank done. Development agenda for Western Nigeria. Our governors do not patronize the body. So we just have to sit down here today with the suggestions that are going to be made. How do we, in the interim, reposition the Southwest in the affairs of Nigeria and then be able to defend our people in the face of insecurity that is going on? How do we, it's not enough to dismiss Amotekun. How do we make Amotekun strong enough to defend our people? We are currently mounting prayer on the federal government now. Please, don't bring strangers as policemen to police the southwest or any part of Nigeria. Because policing is intelligence gathering. You must be able to speak the local language. Kó tó lè ṣe fún ìṣọlọ́pàá tó o bá gbédè táwọn èèyàn ń sọ. Téèyàn bá fẹ́ ewé lásán sẹ́nu, ó ní meaning fún odi tó bá wà around. So how does a stranger know that? So if you don't speak Yoruba, criminals may be plotting where you are seated as commissioner of police. You don't know what they are talking about. So we must take Nigeria back, and ensure that our own place is preserved in Nigeria and others can learn from that. Then in all our submissions, I also discovered that, again, apart from the last speaker, who alluded to the original concept of Nigeria, why was Nigeria set up? Today, and we must be very humble about this. 2 issues before I call on the moderator, to come in. 2 issues. We must be very humble. Today, the Yoruba people are a parasite on Nigeria. All of us depend on oil money. We have the second largest deposit of bitumen from Ondo stretches to Ogun State. Our governors have not been able to get investors to invest in that project. So we can also be competing with oil producing states. Cocoa, I'm currently in Ghana. Ghana has become Ivory Coast. It's the first largest producer of cocoa. It used to be Nigeria and Southwest. Today we are nowhere. Malaysia came to the Southwest in 1965 to take palm kernel seedling. Today we are importing palm oil from that country. So I believe very seriously, while some people are looking for money to prosecute a war, to break up Nigeria, to Pakistanize or Balkanize Nigeria, in the interim, what do we do to secure our people? I therefore would like to call on the moderator to call those who are interested to make contributions. Thank you very much.
Your contributions are always very illuminating. They always, of course, I'm actually very. I'm saying I come as the rank summary and I want to bow sorrow.
Moderator Mbanika, very questions, sir, first before you kind of wrap it up, please, sir, if it's okay.
Okay. All right. And about February, about 1 hour is okay. I require continue also okay. Listen, Ejo, Iberi, àti àfikún yín, Ejo, ẹ má jẹ́ kó pọ̀ púpọ̀. Ní kankan. Màá pe Mr. Akonlese. Ejo tí n bá porúkọ yẹn dá má bínú o. Ẹ bá wa mute.
What's your mute? Hey, your mute, sir.
Okay, tí wọ́n bá ti ready, ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ Mr. Bankole.
Ẹ káàsán o, ẹ kúrọ̀lẹ́ o, ẹ káalẹ́ o, gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí ètò yìí. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo yín fún àǹfààní tí mo láti bá yín péjọ. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá wa Femi FALANA, ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n nínú ètò òfin. Ẹ ṣé. Mo dẹ̀ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn Major General wa, Major General Chris Olukolade àti Major Henry Ayoola fún gbogbo tẹ́ ti bá wa sọ. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá Taiwo náà. Ẹ ṣeun gan. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, àwọn tẹ́mi kàn fẹ́ pe àkíyèsí kì í ṣe ìbéèrè ní wípé àwọn ológun wa, mo gbà wípé gbogbo wọn ti ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun fúnlẹ̀ Nàìjíríà, wọ́n ti jà fún ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà. Ṣùgbọ́n tá a bá wo àwọn ológun wa, ó dàbí pé àwọn sì ní ìfẹ́ nínú pé ká máa bá nǹkan lọ bó ṣe ń lọ, kí orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá kó sì wà nínú Nàìjíríà. Nàìjíríà kì í ṣe orílẹ̀-èdè tẹ́ bá wò dáadáa, torí èdè wa kò ń ṣe nǹkan kan náà. Tá a bá fẹ́ ṣe àpèjúwe Nàìjíríà pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹ̀yà tó kù ní àgbáyé, a rí i pé Yorùbá orílẹ̀-èdè ni. gẹ́gẹ́ bí Igbo àbí Hausa ṣùgbọ́n Nàìjíríà bí ìgbà tán kó ewúrẹ́ pọ̀ mọ́ àgbò ló fẹ́ jẹ́ nítorí náà ó dà fáwọn olórí wa nínú iṣẹ́ ogun tá a gbẹ́kẹ̀lé pé àwọn ńlá lè fẹ̀yìntì tí nǹkan bá fẹ́ rújú wọn ti gbà wípé ohun tó ń ṣe wá yìí kì í ṣe ń tá a lè máa bá lọ títí tẹ́ bá wo ọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa restructuring tá ń sọ àwọn tó ní agbára lókè lọ́n ti sọ pé wọ́n ti sọ pé àwọn ò fẹ́ ó ti pẹ́ tá ti ń sọ fún wa pé tó bá jẹ́ restructuring ni àwọn ò sí nídìí ẹ̀ ẹni tó jẹ́ gbákejì ààrẹ tó fẹ́ gba iṣẹ́ ìsìn ó sọ ó ní restructuring my foot ibo láti fẹ́ rí restructuring àwọn tó dẹ̀ wà nílé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin àpapọ̀ tó máa ṣòfin pé ẹja restructure àbí ká má restructure àmọ̀pá ọ̀nà lágbára jù àwọn náà pọ̀ jù tó bá ní kán dálẹ̀ ká tún ṣà kán dìbò àrípá ọ̀nà pọ̀ jù so ọgbọ́n la fẹ́ dá gẹ́gẹ́ bí bàbá Fálànà ṣe sọ wípé approach wa sí security ní Nàìjíríà ó pín sí méjì social and physical bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe rí o ní ti èmi ò kàwé tó wọn mi rẹ̀ kàwé tó gbogbo àwọn tó ti sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀sìn ṣùgbọ́n bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe rí ọ̀rọ̀ security wá ń sìn tá a bá kọ́kọ́ mójútó physical social yẹn ò ní ṣe é ṣe púpọ̀ nígbà bá ní òkè a fẹ́ dáṣẹ́ lẹ̀ ẹ wo orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ń sìn ilẹ̀ pọ̀ tá a lè fi gbin rice tá a lè fi gbin ẹ̀gẹ́ tá a lè fi gbin ẹ̀fọ́ tá a lè fi gbin oríṣiríṣi nǹkan ṣùgbọ́n nígbà bá gbé tán tí Gàmbàrí bá kó àbí tí Fúlàní bá kó màálù wá tí wọ́n bá wá jẹ kó kí la fẹ́ ṣe ọdún bíi 3-4 sẹ́yìn mi gan sọ pé mo fẹ́ lọ sí Nàìjíríà kí n lọ máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ oko ìgbà tí mo ń bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ mo wá béèrè pé ok báwo ni wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe lọ́rọ̀ màálù tó ń jẹ kó wọ́n láwọn lágbára lórí ìyẹn so ẹjọ́ so ẹbí sọ ni wípé this physical security ó ṣe pàtàkì ọ̀nà tá a bá máa gbà láti jẹ́ pé kágbẹ̀ lè lọ sóko pẹ̀lú ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ káwọn obìnrin wa lè lọ sí street lọ pọnmi pẹ̀lú ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ ká mú ká tún tò.
Moderator, please. Moderator, please. Moderator, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, please. I'm going to suggest that we ask for concrete suggestions and questions so that we can make some progress. I will also suggest for those who have made presentations to note the questions they may want to respond to later so that we can take a lot of people and then be able to make some point. And again, as I did challenge those of you abroad earlier, and I'm going to beg you again, if you're talking of people who are bringing Malu to the southwest, you know, the headers and the rest of them. Again, let us go back to the path so that we can make program where you are. Ranching is the solution. The Ayoola regime had 8 ranches in the southwest. In fact, what I did, the one we call Berekete, it was a species from Argentina mixed with species from Mali, lower in the southwest. Today, they are totally extinct. Now in the west, you have ranches and abattoirs. So please, let us have concrete suggestions to address each of the problems. And we must also address all the suggestions made by the 2 generals. Thank you, moderator.
Sir. I was just about to say it. I want to know almost everybody to want to know February. So, yes. It's about putting lots of berry.
I can note them.
Straight to the point. So I comment let them make straight to the point. Like we berry, I want to have berry lower and lot of fun like so Ejo, I want to about our sorrow.
Ìbéèrè mẹ́ta bí mẹ́rin sir at the time. So
okay. About the ìbéèrè mẹ́ta yẹn ẹlẹ tẹ́ bá fẹ́ dá lóhùn tẹ́ bá fẹ́ dáhùn sí nínú ẹlẹ bá wa dá sí ẹ ṣé gan ni a máa pe Mr. Ajaguna. Minutes ẹjọ.
Ẹ pẹ̀lẹ́ o ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ o láti jẹ́ fún mi ní ààyè láti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ètò mo dúpẹ́ kí alága Barrister Femi Falana àti àwọn ọ̀gágun mo mọ most of the àwọn ọ̀gágun wọ̀nyí but mo expect láti rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ tó ju eléyìí lọ mo ti bá àwọn kan nínú wọn ṣèpàdé wọ́n lè má mọ̀ but mo mọ̀ wọ́n. Ìbéèrè mi làkọ́kọ́ lọ sọ́dọ̀ bàbá wa amòfin Falana ṣé kò ẹjọ́ má bínú òyìnbó mi UK mo wà mí ò òyìnbó mi ò dúró ṣe díẹ̀ Yorùbá mi ṣe díẹ̀ ṣé kò possible láti pressurize àwọn gómìnà wọ̀nyí láti gba láísẹ̀nsì kan tó ń bá tiẹ̀ gbà fáwọn àmọ̀tẹ́kùn wa ìbọn láísẹ̀nsì yẹn then the people in diaspora can come up raise funds together and purchase all this something. Oh, I need Romania and I will just I can take a flight to Romania and get this thing. But the most important thing is the license and where it is going. Come back, pressurize our governors when that's shikini. Number 2, is anything bad in the eye of the law to do what you do to me, let me do it to you. Pushing power, there's no need of come for get us only one. Wọ́n pa àwọn èèyàn nínú àmà fọwọ́ gẹ̀rẹ́ sórí wọn àmà mórí kan gbàdán ní àná tó mú àwọn kan ní Ondo State lápúrẹ́ àwọn ọmọtẹ́kùn wọn wọ́n gẹ̀rẹ́ sórí wọn for what? They have been killing us. Deal with them the way they deal with us. And I mean, there's nothing bad in an eye for an eye. In my own point of view. Ta ló lè lọ sí Lausa ní ọmọ Yorùbá?
Ẹ ṣé ń béèrè yín sir. Thank you for your question, sir.
Oh, ẹjọ́.
I understand the question.
Sir.
Ẹ ṣe kíákíá sir. Ẹ pè kíta kíákíá sir.
Open border crossing border wa ní òkè Ọya tabate anyway to me mi ò nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí Nàìjíríà mọ́ but lókè Ọya it is too porous ọ̀gágun olú tó dẹ̀ ń lu agan ló fúra ẹ̀ declare pé káwọn èèyàn máa wọlé láti Mauritania Mali Senegal kó máa wọlé ó dẹ̀ ti ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ó ti sapá ilẹ̀ Ìgbò kí ni ṣé àwé ikọ̀ nígbà tí mo wà ní kékeré àdéjọ́ of 10
ìbéèrè yín sir
kí ni mara wọ́n ní culture wọn ni àwọn òde lè gbé pen dání nígbà yẹn ní the 60s.
What's the question, sir?
Alàgbà ẹjọ́ about 27 people ló fẹ́ béèrè question.
Okay,
your question, sir.
Wọ́n ti béèrè question wọn.
God bless you.
Moderator pẹ̀lú mi, sir. Moderator pẹ̀lú mi, sir.
Sister Buki. About me, Sister Buki.
Hello everyone. Sorry, I'm going to have to speak English, but my questions are: 1, because on the internet, on the social media, we're always seeing these massive, large trucks containing these Fulanis coming into the southwest. If they cannot, because the borders of the north are open, they're very porous, open up. These Semitics are coming in from the Sahel, making their way into the southwest. 1, can we now not start manning our borders? That's 1. 2, can we not start turning away these massive lorries that are containing these, once we see them in their jaws, we need to turn them back. So, and also I'm suggesting that we start possibly even stopping people coming into the southwest at this stage. I think it's gotten to that where every state in Nigeria needs to start manning its own borders. 3, can we now not start calling our governors to account for how much they are being paid for the security? We need to know. They need to put it out publicly. Thank you. And we need to know what those funds and what they're doing, using for those funds for. And they need to start acting immediately. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, sir.
They proposed to do a federal credits about
ẹjọ́ ìbéèrè ní ṣókí question ní ṣókí.
Yeah, all protocols acknowledged. Orúkọ tèmi gangan ni Ọmọọba Ayọ̀túndé Adébáyọ̀. Mo ti ní several conversations with our barrister Femi FALANA. Wọ́n dẹ̀ kú ohun. But àwọn ìbéèrè tí mi fẹ́ béèrè ó dá lórí constitution. Tí a bá ń béèrè fún restructuring for over almost 25 years, tí kò sí any headway lórí pé ká restructure, why tí àwọn gómìnà wa tí wọ́n máa fẹ́ lọ máa gba ìwé àṣẹ láti fẹ́ kó ohun ìdáàbòbò wá sí ilẹ̀ wa. Why tá máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ fún licenses lọ́wọ́ ìjọba under constitution tí ò work fún wa, tó jẹ́ pé constitution tí ó wà ńlẹ̀ tán bá béèrè fún license yìí ìjọba yẹn ò ní approve ẹ̀. Why tá ń waste time ara wa? Why tí a ò ignore ọ̀rọ̀ constitution Nàìjíríà táwọn náà bá ti sọ pé wọn ò gbà ká restructure? Ẹ jẹ́ káà náà kó irinṣẹ́ wọlé lọ́nà tá a bá lè gbà láti kó wọlé láti lè dáàbò bora wa. The same ìjọba yìí, mò ń bọ̀ ẹjọ́ tó lọ lọ́run, I'm on my question.
All right.
Ìjọba tó sọ pé kí gbogbo àwọn tó ní ìbọn lọ́wọ́ kí wọ́n dá ìbọn padà fún ìjọba, tí wọ́n wá gba àwọn Fúlàní láyè láti wá kó ìbọn wọlé láti wá máa pa àwọn èèyàn ti wá. Ṣé ẹ ò rí pé agenda wà ń bẹ̀? Now, Dr. Victor Taiwo, kudos to what you said so far. I really appreciate all your statement, presentation. Àwọn tí wọ́n ní alágbára yìí tí wọ́n bá wà ń bẹ̀, ṣe rí eléyìí tá lè fi máa lọ fi yín gbogbo àwọn Fúlàní lọ́rùn, tá lè fi yín wọn lọ́rùn kákọ́ lọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú yẹn. Ẹ bá mi tí bá wà ń bẹ̀, èmi ṣetán láti wá gba agbára yẹn. A ò lè dákẹ́ ká máa ní àrùn ara pẹ̀lú àwọn ará bíi.
Thank you.
Lọ́ní sá. Lákọ̀ọ́kọ́ yìí sìn, àwa gba response látọ̀dọ̀ àwọn speakers wa àti chairman. Ẹni tó bá fẹ́ dáhùn sí àwọn ìbéèrè yẹn, àyè wà láti dáhùn sí sá.
Well, I think you should call the generals one by one, then I'll come in.
I'm not sure. Okay. Major General Chris Olukolade.
I think you have to unmute me from you. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Well, as ever, Chief FALANA will always bring a very interesting dimension. I'm really grateful for all your inputs, sir. This is making.
Well, I think there are some questions addressed to me.
No. I'm just.
I'm
beginning with your own.
Okay. Oh, you want me to intervene first?
Yeah.
Yes. On.
No. I want to respond.
Our generals first. Yeah. Go on, please. Go on.
Yeah, you made reference to the water bill. Actually,
yes.
The water bill, my understanding, what is going on about the water bill, apart from the bill, there is a clever means to bring it in as if it's a constitutional amendment issue. And this is what I'm advocating that we should watch out for, to kill it even at the point of such amendment. In the first place, this constitution is of no worth. And I think the advocacy should be a campaign for new constitution. My recommendation was to say that even before any election, we must demand a new constitution. And that constitution that will be true constitution of the people. It is within that we can address issues. The plot that we got to understand is that when the water bill issue is failing, they will bring it in as an amendment. And we got to watch out for that. That's what I'm advocating.
Thank you, General.
Now to the other issue where Mr. Ajaguda asked, governors about licenses. I agree with you. I really think that that's also part of what I recommended. There is need to really put our governors under pressure. There is need to really put them under pressure. Otherwise, they will constitute too many things on the grounds of political exigency or whatever, and that in itself has led to a lot of compromise that is undermining the safety of the people in Southwest. And concerning the licenses, I will be very surprised. It will be a miracle indeed if this government will allow those licenses. If you listen to Otom yesterday, Otom was specific, and he was expecting that they would refuse the licenses. He's not even asking for the licenses on pump action guns. He's asking for licenses on automatic rifles, which I think is what is required now. It will be a miracle. It will be very surprising if this government will grant that. They are not likely to grant it. And that will be the beginning of an issue. I think that even the legal people should watch out for that. Let there be a first move to demand this license. And in any case, I would think that all of these ones are time wasting. Then our sister Buki, raised the issue about influx, on land border. Sincerely speaking, I think that this will be one area the Amotekun must be very, very watchful. I am glad at the achievement in Apero, in Ondo State yesterday, where they got over 150 people who were invaders. And that's the correct definition of these people. They should be called invaders. I think that will really sharpen the understanding of people if they know that these are invaders. And like I mentioned in my paper, the trouble we are facing is from invaders and a siege. And when you are facing an invasion, it calls for a total action of the entire community. There's no more specialty in that. It's no more just a specialty of the security agencies. It will be the involvement of the total people to save themselves from invaders. And then what Prince Adebayo mentioned about the Constitution, that I think I agree with him substantially. And this will also point to what I'm suggesting, that we should focus on ensuring that if the campaign and advocacy should target at us having a new constitution before we think of any election. I'm aware there is some advocacy in this respect, but I don't think the Yoruba people bought it as a whole. I think it's just a few people who are advocating, and there's a lot of sense in it. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Eshegoni, sir. Major General. That's fine. You have the floor.
Somebody else?
Yes.
The chairman.
Dr. Victor Taiwo.
Chairman. Chairman, moderator.
Barrister Femi.
Yeah. Please. What of Dr. Taiwo? Is he still with us? Dr. Taiwo, please.
I'm not sure
He's not here.
We're not sure.
Okay, moderator, if I may just say very briefly. Hello, can I go on?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Yes, I fully agree with General Olukolade, with respect to the Constitution. And this is why we also must take advantage of the openings in this. Right now, there is a constitutional review going on. And some of the
Okay, don't pay any problem to signal Barrister FALANA. General Ayoola, you're putting in sorrow, sir. Meet her answer.
And the host is not permitted.
Family, they about allow one come meet around you.
Come meet this thing.
Okay, thank you. Now you are unmuted. I'm unmuted. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I want to address some of the 2 or 3 questions that are direct on. The first one was about why are we not carrying out reprisal attacks against the invaders? Okay, and I think the answer is very simple. The current government has the yam and has the knife. And we must be prepared for exactly what we are supposed to do. All the security agencies have marching orders about what they will allow and what they will not allow. This government is not fighting terrorism, neither is it fighting insurgency. And that is why we have not been able to deal with these issues. Okay, you saw how this government gave a soft landing to the last set of service chiefs. That should tell you a whole lot, that they know that they are the ones who didn't allow them to do their work. Okay, and so they didn't want them to go away as service chiefs who couldn't perform. And that's why they gave them that speaks a whole lot. The truth is, of course, this decision is not a casual decision. If we are ready to fight to set ourselves free, then we need all the support and all the requirements so to do. But it's not some sporadic or isolated response or reaction here and there that will get the work done. Because apart from, you will have noticed, apart from the Amotekun in Ondo State, how many times have you heard of any of the other state Amotekun stopping people coming in trailers and so on? Why are they not doing that if they have seen the example of the one in Ondo State? It must be related to their capacity to do so. If you are going to stop them, I know I've worked with these people, and I know that the only language they understand is force for force. That's the only language they respect. You can agitate from now till eternity. They are not, it's not a mistake. We need to be sure that these are not circumstantial or accidental things that we are dealing with. These are deliberate policy implementation. So it's not like if you now grumble or you make some statements, they will not change their minds. The only language they understand is force for force. And so we, like it's been said in the course of the lecture, if we are ready to set ourselves free, then we must be ready to pay the price for it. We must be ready to equip Amotekun appropriately to resist the invasion of our land and our people. We must be ready to give them all the logistic support, all the armament they need to do that. If not, of course, the way they do is that you kill one of them or you kill some of them, it will be, they don't forgive, and their own reprisal will be wiping out of a whole village for one person killed. So we must be ready before you decide to make such responses. Okay, that's the number one. Number two, you also talked about why we are aligning the movement of their trucks with their people. The same way too. The Amotekun in Ondo State have been doing that too. Have been stopping movement of vehicles and all of that. But can they do more than that? And what other elements of local security outfits, the Egbe, for example, the OPC, for example, are we thinking of integrating this element, these local elements that we have, including the hunters and the vigilantes, and bringing them into a formidable integrated force that can actually give a punch? You don't fight war like you are doing an experiment. You must be prepared for war, to fight war. So we must be ready. It must be a grand strategic decision with all the relevant support to make it happen. Okay, then of course, he talked about, now this issue about Alagbaras in Yoruba land, and of course, the local powers. In as much as I know there are powers and there are powers, and I know limitations of powers. The question I always ask, I deal with some of the people, in this dimension, and I always ask them, because I was chief of research and development in the defense sector. I've taken fragmented jackets to the range to test. And I asked them the simple question: if you wear Ayeta and it takes one bullet, can it take the next bullet? Have you tested that? Because even the physical fragmented jacket, if you shoot the first bullet on it, its sanctity is already finished. It will not take subsequent bullets. I asked them that question: have you done that before? And the Ayeta that you have, was it designed for 7.62 mm ammunition, or it was designed for Shakabula? Gone. If these powers were there, how did the white men find it so easy to conquer us, to take us slaves, to colonize us? Were these things not available then? Could they not stop the white man? How strong was the force that Lord Lugard had, for which he conquered the whole Nigeria? They were not even up to a battalion. Now, so I don't want us to start playing with things that have not been tested. Okay? They have their own limits. Powers are in levels and grades. There's no doubt about that, but you must know your level and you must know your limitations. And don't give false confidence to people, because I've seen these things. I've dealt with those who use them, and I know where the limitations are. So for me, we need an integrated force. Yes, let them come on stream. We know where they can be used and deployed, and we know what their limitations is. And then we know where we need higher powers and higher weapons and all of that. integrated approach is what I will recommend. Thank you very much.
Sir. Dr. Victor Taiwo, Dr. Famoyide, Wale Ajayi ni orúkọ tó wà fún Dr. Taiwo, so tẹ́ bá lè bá wa mute wọn tó bá ṣe wà ńbẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wa.
Mo ti wá mi ò rí orúkọ yẹn, sir. I've been looking for it.
All right, that's fine. Ẹ jẹ́ ká pè ẹni tó kàn, Toba Building Community, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ní ṣókí ni ó jẹ́ ìbéèrè yín tàbí àfikún yín. Ẹ ṣeun.
Only on mute. Toba can unmute, yes.
Yes, ẹ ṣeun ojú ọ̀nà ọmọ wa ẹjọ́ táriwo bá pọ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ pé fún gbogbo àwọn èèyàn tó wá. Ìbéèrè mi fún àwọn ọ̀gágun wa ni mo fọkàn balẹ̀ láti gbọ́ gbogbo nǹkan tán bá wa sọ torí èmi gan mo ṣiṣẹ́ ológun though outside the country. So ìbéèrè mi dá dúró báyìí. Gbogbo wọn nínú presentation wọn, wọ́n jẹ́ ká mọ̀ pé ìṣòro tó wà kì í ṣe pé ó ṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀. That means while they were serving, while they were in charge, by the grace of God, àwọn náà mọ̀ nípa gbogbo kinní wọ̀nyí. Ǹjẹ́ nígbà tí wọ́n wà ní ipò tí Ọlọ́run fún wọn tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àwọn ni adarí, at least ní area tán bá wà, ipa wo ni àwọn náà kó àbí ọ̀nà wo ni wọ́n gbà láti fi lu wá lólobó pé nǹkan báyìí ń ṣẹlẹ̀ bóyá kí àwọn Yorùbá múra. Ẹlẹ́kejì ni pé ìgbà tí wọ́n ti kúrò ní orí oyè ń sìn tó dẹ̀ jẹ́ pé wọ́n ti fẹ̀yìntì, ọ̀nà wo ni àwọn náà ń gbà láti fi ṣe bí aṣáájú fún àwọn ọmọ wa tó sì wà lẹ́nu iṣẹ́ láti lè rí pé nǹkan tó ń bọ̀ yìí tó bá máa dé bá a ṣe lè coordinate ara wa. And the last question is, okay, àwọn méjèèjì tó bá a sọ lónìí a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run pé Ọlọ́run dẹ́mi wọn sí, wọ́n dẹ̀ dé ipò gíga. Wọ́n jẹ́ ká mọ̀ pé wọ́n tiẹ̀ ti mọ́ra láti bí 50 ọdún sẹ́yìn. Ṣùgbọ́n nípò tí wọ́n wà, ǹjẹ́ ó ní ipa tí àwọn gan ń kó láàárín àwọn ọ̀gágun tó ti fẹ̀yìntì àbí àwọn tó ti jagun láti lè rí pé ẹ̀kọ́ tí wọ́n kọ́, ìmọ̀ tí wọ́n ní, bí ó tiẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àwọn aráàlú mọ̀ pé ìbẹ̀rù wà, ṣùgbọ́n láàárín àwọn ológun ó ní bó ṣe lè yé wọn better so that they will continue to coordinate themselves. Ǹjẹ́ ó ní nǹkan tí wọ́n ń ṣe ní àkókò yìí láti lè sọ pé nǹkan tó ń bọ̀ yìí kì í ṣe kinní. Then the last one ni pé ibi tí àwọn ti wá gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìlú, gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìgbèríko, ǹjẹ́ ó ní ètò tí wọ́n ń ṣe ń bẹ̀ ní ìlú tiwọn, ní local government tiwọn for security structure to be established? Thank you.
Mr. Toba. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ àwọn èèyàn wa tó wà ní orí ètò yìí, tẹ́ bá fẹ́, àwa tẹ́ fẹ́ náà pé ká ní àjọṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú yín, ẹ bá wa fi orúkọ yín, phone number yín àbí email address yín sí orí chat, a máa ṣe follow up pẹ̀lú yín. Then gbogbo àwọn speakers wa náà, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ àwọn write-ups yín tẹ́ deliver fún wa àti PowerPoint, ẹ máa fi ọwọ́ ìránṣẹ́ sí wa pẹ̀lú resource materials tí ìgbìmọ̀ àpérò máa lò láti fi máa bá ọ̀rọ̀ yìí lọ. Lákòókò yìí máa ń pè Mr. Paul Omonoa.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, I'm not being English, Matisor. I want to thank Major General Ayoola very much for that wonderful exposition that you have made, especially the part where you said this is a deliberate policy implementation. I think I've spoken to you before, as well as some people on this platform, about the encounter that my brother had with a white guy about 4 or 5 years ago. They were in the basketball tryout, and the guy said, "Are you from Nigeria?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Are you aware of what's going to happen in your country?" That's the first time they are meeting. He said, "What's going to happen?" He said, "You are not aware that they are implementing the Turkish model in your country." He said, "What's the Turkish model?" He said, "They are going to frustrate." He said, "The plan is they're going to frustrate the entire policy. They are going to make sure the intellectuals like you leave the country, because the end game is to implement Sharia and to subdue the entire country with Sharia law and Sharia implementation." And my brother called me immediately. He's on this program, and I think I mentioned it to some people on this platform. So it's a deliberate policy implementation that is being executed. So the question I want to ask is that these policies are being implemented one after the other, just like Dr. Belafia said before he passed away. that they have arrested some of these culprits, and they have told them that the end game is before 2023. They want to create war in Nigeria. Question is, what immediate step are we going to take to checkmate the plan and the program of these people? It's okay to begin to think about it or to do what.
Ẹ má bínú, àsìkò tí ń lọ, èrò sì pọ̀ tán fẹ́ béèrè béèrè. Màá pe Dr. David Backing.
Hello, sir. Ṣé ẹ̀ ń gbọ́ mi?
Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sir, question yín àbí comment yín ẹ bá wa ṣe ní kọ́mọ́nkọ́yá.
Ẹ ṣé gan ni, mo dúpẹ́ fún gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ látàárọ̀. Bàbá wa Femi Falana, àwọn ológun wa Major General Henry àti bàbá wa Bukọlade. Mo gbádùn ọ̀rọ̀ yín. Mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ pàtàkì gan lọ́wọ́ Dr. Taiwo. Inú mi dùn sí gbogbo àwọn tí ẹ sọ. Mo dẹ̀ fẹ́ kẹ́ mọ̀ pé àwa kan a nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí tí ẹ sọ. Ìbéèrè mi wá fẹ́ lọ sórí ọ̀dọ̀ Major General Henry Ayoola. Inú mi dùn fáwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ sọ lénìí, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ọlọ́gbọ́n ló kúnnú ẹ̀. But àwọn tó yà mí lẹ́nu ni pé ńgbà tí ẹ ń sọ̀rọ̀, láyé ìgbà kan tí a bá ní problem nílùú, tí ọwọ́ ọlọ́pàá ò bá ká mọ́, tí wọ́n pe mobile police tí ọwọ́ wọn ò ká, army ni wọ́n ń pè. And they will neutralize whatever the problem we have in the society. Láti north títí dé west àti south gbogbo ẹ̀. Kò sí problem tí wọ́n ń pe army sínsìn tí agbára wọn ń ká o. In fact, gan army àti sá lọ kí wàhálà tó ṣẹlẹ̀ nígbà tí wọ́n bá ti ta wọn lólobó pé nǹkan báyìí ń bọ̀. A gbọ́ pé wọ́n ti lọ. Wàhálà bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí máa délẹ̀. Àwọn army ò lè ṣe nǹkan kan mọ́. But nínú ọ̀rọ̀ yín, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sà, ẹ fún mi láyè. Nínú ọ̀rọ̀ yín, ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ wípé democracy gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tí àwa ń fẹ́, pé wọn ò tiẹ̀ fẹ́. Ipe wọn kàn manage ẹni pé wọn ò tiẹ̀ bá wa fẹ́. Ẹ tún sọ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ yín pé force to force làwọn people yìí need. But ó wá yà mí lẹ́nu wípé ìgbàgbọ́ yín ṣì wà nínú Nigeria, the project Nigeria. So ní question mi fẹ́ lọ sí pé kí ni àwọn nǹkan tá a lè ṣe, what can we do? I mean, how did we get báwo ni àwọn Fulani, how did they become even better armed than our police and our army? Why did the
Thank you, Dr. Backing. I'm sure the crux of your question is understood by the generals down.
Two more questions, second question.
Okay, ẹ jọ̀ọ́, a máa pe àwọn èèyàn méjì kan béèrè. Àwọn ká lè fún àwọn speakers láyè láti dáhùn. Mr. Banji Adegunloye, ẹ jọ̀ọ́, they want to be rude láti máa interrupt yín. We feel it's not fair, but unfortunately, just straight to the point, ẹ jọ̀ọ́.
Ẹ ṣeun sá, mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn dádì wa, àwọn Barrister, àwọn dádì wa Mr. Femi Falana, bí wọ́n ṣe gan. Ìkan ní mo kàn fẹ́ sọ fún gbogbo àwọn speaker tó bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ ni pé gbogbo nǹkan tó wọ́n bá wa sọ lénìí ni a nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí pé wọ́n má jìnnà sí wa lórí àpérò. Gbogbo nǹkan tí wọ́n bá wa sọ, òun náà ni àpérò nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí, especially àwọn dádì wa. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé wọ́n mọ̀ nígbà tí wọ́n gbé ètò àpérò sílẹ̀, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé wọ́n wà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé wọ́n bá jíròrò ẹ̀ ní gbogbo nǹkan tí wọ́n ti ń sọ, gbogbo wọ́n ti ń sọ, òun náà ni àṣìṣe kó máa kánjọ kó máa jìnnà sí wa lórí àpérò. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má jìnnà sí wa. Béèrè mi ni wípé ẹ jọ̀ọ́ sàdádì wa, dáṣẹ bàbá dádì wa àwọn Barrister. Ìgbésẹ̀ wo la lè gbé? I will ask the question in English. What can the diaspora do or the Yoruba people do to support a legal action that will facilitate the approval of a license for ammunition for organization like Amotekun? Because gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe sọ, ẹ ti gbé bí àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ bíi mẹ́fà kan tó jẹ́ pé even within the constitution you have fought one cases.
Yeah, that's a question, sir.
How do they ensure we can get a license? Is actually going, sir. Mr. Olufemi Akiwumi.
Ẹ kú àpérò. Àwọn nǹkan tí mo ìbéèrè mi ni pé ó jáde láti inú ọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀gágun Ayoola wọ́n dẹ̀ sọ nígbà púpọ̀ nípa pé docility and timidity of our people is just too much. Then amòfin Fálànà náà sọ pé àwọn gómìnà ń gba bíi 300 million lóṣooṣù. Ìbéèrè mi wá ní pé ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ wo ni à ń ṣe fún àwọn aráàlú tí nǹkan ò bá lọ bó ṣe yẹ kó lọ, tí wọ́n fi máa jẹ́ pé àwọn tí wọ́n wà lórí àlééfà pé wọn ò ní nídìí ìjókòó tí wọn ò ní ìsinmi. Ẹ mọ̀ bá a ṣe ń ṣe ní òkè ní Amẹ́ríkà ibi tá a wà yìí, protest kò dìgbà tá a dáná sunlé tàbí tá a dáná sun kankan, bẹ̀ tí àwọn èèyàn máa mọ̀ pé ókè o, ẹni tó náwó yànfùyànfù tí àwọn èèyàn bá fi ẹ̀hónú hàn sí, kí ni nǹkan tá ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ lá ń ṣe fáwọn èèyàn láti rí pé wọn wà láò nǹkan bó ṣe ń lọ.
Thank you, sir, for your question.
Ẹ ṣeun, dúpẹ́. Nísìnyí a máa wá pe àwọn speakers wa àti chairman wa tó bá ṣì wà pẹ̀lú wa láti dáhùn sí àwọn ìbéèrè yẹn. Èyí tẹ́ bá rò ẹ fẹ́ dáhùn sí, feel free láti dáhùn sí. Máa pe General Chris Olukolade kan bá wa dá sọ̀rọ̀ náà. The family days is still there.
Hello? Am I on?
Yes, sir, you're on.
All right, thank you. I think most of the issues are more of contributions, except Mr. Toba, who was being personal, and I don't think this is the forum to respond to the issues he's asking, what we have been doing while we're in service and while we're out. We just know that we remain the patriots that we ought to be, at least myself. I know my brother, Ayoola. I don't think those personal questions are proper for this forum. Then the request that pressure be put on those in political authority, I think I agree with it, and I think I don't see any other issue to respond to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. General Henry Ayoola.
Yes, thank you very much. I have 2 questions there. I think my brother Chris has responded to one, but to say, well, I'm not sure if the president was around when I gave my presentation. I said so that since I retired, I've done nothing else than trying to find solution to this national problem. Because my last appointment as a commander of Operation Safe Haven opened my eyes to know the things I wouldn't have known. I would still have been a general and thought that I knew, but I served in JOS before that time. So that was my second time of serving in JOS. But what I knew in those over almost 1.5 years as Operation Safe Haven commander, I didn't know them before that time. And yet I grew up in the north. I was in Zara, I was in Kaduna, I was all over the place. So there is a whole gamut of them, but it's not in open forum like this we can discuss such things. And I've been everywhere, like I also said, including the sociocultural groups in Nigeria, trying to do advocacy, trying to convince people about the reality of what is going on. But I don't think that is the solution. If General T.Y. Danjuma has spoken over 4 years ago, Nigerians are still asleep. If a man of his stature and experience could take the risk of putting his business empire at risk and all of that, and Nigerians are still asleep. So the issue is, let me say there, and thank you, that's why I appreciate this effort so much. Having been all over the country, the Yoruba elites are the most difficult to convince as a military officer concerning anything. I will see Yoruba elites who will even be arguing with me about the army, trying to prove to me that he knows the army more than me. It's very laughable. I'm just saying it, I mean, to show my appreciation for this group, that you are different. So I know the kind of lackadaisical way people have taken this alarm. I've raised this alarm. I talk on TV. Channels arise, AIT, ITV all the time. So if you are talking about personal effort, I've done nothing else. It's 2015 till now. I've been leading restructure actualization movement. I've been leading peace action transformation. I've been leading initiative for people's rebirth. all of that in giving back to the society. Just to answer the question, I mean, these are not things one does for anybody's validation per se. The patriotism that has been engendered in us, some of us who have benefited from when the country was working, we can't just, I have the option of just relaxing and going somewhere else, like several other people do. But I'm here. We must find this solution. So that's just that, just to allay the fears of the person who has that question. All right. Then somebody talked about the army capacity, why they are not able to solve problems. I think we need to be listening to one another very well. Look, the army can only do as much as the commander-in-chief command them to do. I gave the example of the past C&C, I mean, like the chiefs and the service chiefs that were retired last. So if we had that, then maybe, I mean, I've said that again and again, the military does not decide to fight a war. The decision to fight a war is a political decision, and it stops at the grand strategic level. And no service chiefs can go beyond what is commander-in-chief's command, and that flows down the line. So if I've given this example too many times, if your boss, you work with a boss, when your boss is telling you, sit down there in the presence of everybody, and everybody is hearing him say, sit down there. But between you and your boss, you know that what he's telling you is that if you dare sit down there, and everybody is saying, but God says you should sit down now, and you are still standing. But you know your boss, they don't know. Okay, that's the way it runs. So it's not all that is happening in Nigeria is not a measure of the capacity of the armed forces at all. The armed forces will have finished the issue of Boko Haram by the 2015. By the end of 2015, if this government didn't come in 2015. That's just for example. There's so much more. Don't forget we're in open forum, so there are many things we cannot see here. Then somebody also talked about sharing some of the efforts that have been made. I come from Akoko in Ondo State. I know Akoko part of Ondo State is the northernmost part of the Southwest. Okay, and so we have been more or less frontier people, you know, who have tasted these problems earlier than every part of the Southwest. Okay, and of course, self-defense is a natural right, it's a divine right, it's a legal right, it's a universal right. There is so much we can do on the premise of self-defense. And we have for any community, we have sold the Ayoola model, which is my part of Akoko. We have sold the Ayoola model, simple self-defense team that are put up, and they work hand in hand with Amotekun police and the military unit that are closest by. And there are levels of security, and all of these are within the law. So any community can borrow that template and apply it to and we are selling it to the Akoko as a whole. And also we have Akoko, you know, we've been meeting and it's being sold to Ondo State as a whole now. And so it can go down anywhere, just for, depending on what community, you can get in touch with us and we can replicate it for you to suit your own immediate environment. Thank you very much. Those are the answers I thought I should.
On behalf of Igbimo Apero, see any question or be comments to appear insultive, to come across as a personal dart, see, I want to appear, Ejo, Emma Bino, Forijiwa, Boboa, Bashimari, Bashimangoro, Kalomayato, so Ejo, Emma Bino. Tabashi ni Awalagawa, Barrister Femi FALANA, Ejo, chef, any comments lati so na Akoko? For the family, do we still have him?
Thank you very much.
He's here. He's here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back. Number one, we need to re-strategize along the line of the suggestions of our generals. There are options that are not being pursued. For instance, there's so much attention on Abuja that we have ignored our immediate rulers, I will call them, the governors in the Southwest. For instance, just like the president is missing the service chiefs from time to time, there is in the Constitution, Section 153, Nigerian Police Council. There are 39 members. The president only has the chairman, the Inspector General of Police, and the Chairman Police Council, who incidentally is also a Yoruba man, Smith. The remaining 36 members are state governors. That body never meets. The powers of the body are to administer, organize, and supervise the Nigerian police force. We are in a civilian government. You don't talk of the army. You only bring in the armed forces when the police cannot combat or contain an insurrection. Section 217 of the Constitution. But what are we doing? We have ignored the police. Our governors have handed over the power that has to be shared between them and the president. They've completely abdicated their responsibility to the president in terms of reorganizing the police force to defend our people. Again, let me just reveal this to you. In one of the states, I can mention Lagos. Every police station in Lagos is given a paltry sum of 100,000 naira per month, to carry out security and other things. That allowance has not been paid since March this year. And how do I know? Because the DPO complained to me. And I had to call the governor. Now, at that very minimum level, not to talk of acquire, you don't need the permission of Abuja to acquire and install CCTV cameras. A governor was saying the last time, I think it's the governor of Ekiti, as the chairman of Governors Forum, we are applying for drone. The NSA, National Security Advisor, did not give us the permission. I beg your pardon. Who is the National Security Advisor? It's only an advisor to the president on security, like advisor on media. You are the secretary, you are the man empowered. You are in charge of your state. The president said last year on television, national television, that 2 governors in the Southwest came to complain to me about security in their state. I sent them back. Go and secure your people. So if the president says, I can secure my people, how can an NSA say, I can't have a license to acquire drone at my own position? These matters are so clear, like the general have just said. There is right to self-defense in the Constitution. It's permitted. So the only way I can defend myself in the face of AK-47 bearing people is also to acquire weapons. And we have pleaded with the governor, go to court and challenge the discriminatory allocation of licenses to people in Borno. Why should they not give to Amotekun people in Ibadan or Ondo? So I think these are the issues. Let us concentrate attention on our immediate environment. I don't care what happens in Abuja. And these decisions are political. Please, and this is my final intervention, we have used the court to insist that local government elections are conducted by state governments. Obasanjo decided to extend the tenure of local government chairman in 2002 when he was preparing for his 3rd term. We said, no, you have no such power. We went to court. Obasanjo seized the fund of local government in Lagos as the president and commander-in-chief. And the lawyers came to court to say that. Lagos said, no, there are limits to your power under the Constitution. And the court so upheld. Physical planning, as I told you earlier, we defeated the federal government. Control of inland waterways, we have defeated the federal government. Control of landed properties in Nigeria.